You're gonna take green one first?
No, I'm gonna run the agenda as written. All right. Quiet, please.
Hold on a second.
Being December 6th, this is the New Durham Planning Board. I'm Scott Drummy, the chair. As we normally do on these occasions, we're going to go around the table and introduce ourselves for those folks watching at home. I'll start on my left.
David Swenson, Selectman Representative.
Doug Vizel, member.
Scott Drummy, the chair.
Bob Craycraft, Vice Chair.
Terry Chabot, member.
Jeff Allard, alternate member.
Okay. All right. Next item is a public comment. If there's anything not on tonight's agenda that someone wants us to have a word about. Not on tonight's agenda?
Hi, my name is Jackson Budman, and I'm an avid hiker. I highly enjoy going and hiking through the mountains, including Copple Crown, Tumbledown Dick.
Is this about the quarry?
Yes, it is.
That's on the agenda tonight.
And hiking around Russ
Sorry?
Pond.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There'll be time for public comment on agenda items at a later time. Thank you. Okay? There are several items on tonight's agenda. Most of you are waiting for something that's coming down the pike here, so let's please be patient, and we'll kind of get through things as we go here. First item on agenda is the Penny Williams conditional use application. There's been a request from the applicant to postpone this until the February 21st meeting.
Did we receive a
We
reason
did
why?
get a letter. They have a new engineer, and they're working to complete the work.
Okay. I did bring this up last time. This has kind of been prolonged.
I know.
Kind of languishing.
Right.
So I think we could postpone it with a condition that they re-notify butters so the butters
Right.
know that it's forthcoming.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to that.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Motion, as I understood it, would be to postpone the Williams hearing until February 21st, 2017, with the additional condition that they re-notify all the abutters.
Correct.
That's what's seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
That's 5.
That's 5-0. Next item. Solon Realty Company, LLC, boundary line adjustment application. Come forward if you can. Please make a hole, folks.
Hello, everyone.
All opposed. A good night. Hello. Hi.
I'm back.
Okay.
Just a simple lot line adjustment
Yep.
as you have in there.
I thought we already did this.
I went for a consult.
Yeah,
No, we should have done this.
Yeah, it was about a month ago, I think, right?
Yeah.
right.
Okay. All right, you are here.
Thanks for bringing me in early.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want you to have to wait all night. Okay, this looks pretty straightforward to me. Have others found any issues with this? Speak up.
All the abutters who were told about this hearing.
Excuse?
How does this affect all of us abutters?
This issue doesn't affect any of that.
We own both lots, we're just adjusting the line within 2 lots.
Can I ask you a question about the adjustments of the 2 lots?
Yeah, sure.
The existing lot, how many acres is that? I assume that's the automotive field?
The automotive lot, yeah, there's, the new area, the existing is 1.89, the new would be 2.67.
Okay, and now we need how much of the other lot left?
It will be, the new area will be 10.92 acres on the other house next door.
That's the one that's up for sale?
Yes.
Okay, so that house belongs to the whole other lot? And what's the, is there any reason why we're adjusting the boundaries on this?
Yeah,
expansion
that
or-
lot line on the garage actually goes through where he parks the cars on the impound lot.
Okay.
We're selling the house,
Oh,
so.
okay, but
wanted
I
to get
thought
that
this
done.
was being adjusted behind the house.
No, it's actually within the garage,
Within the garage, okay.
going back a little bit.
Bit, okay.
Yep. Yep. Did that answer your question?
So the only adjustment is on your property alone, it's not affecting any of the abutters?
No, there's two properties that we
Oh,
own
okay.
next to each other.
The old Robbins garage and the.
And the house that's for sale next to it, yep. Other property?
You guys looked at this?
Because he wasn't asking for the subdivision, that will be his next.
Right.
Just the-
Yeah, this is just.
You've already accepted the application.
Has no application, no, we haven't.
Okay, so this is the official
Yeah.
acceptance, will be the
Right.
official acceptance.
Yeah,
I missed the one meeting, so I didn't know if you
yeah.
had it.
All the fees have been collected, Laura, is that correct?
Yes.
So you're just moving the line down about
Yeah, I think it's,
100
I'm
feet?
trying to read my,
No, that's the whole, yeah, 113 feet or something? Is that right?
Yeah.
yeah, it's less than an acre, I think, would have to be under 40,000, yeah, I don't know how many feet, 113 feet, yeah. that's what I'm saying.
Right,
Yeah,
I see
on one- on the long side.
113.91 and
It's just
112.04
112 on the other side, yep.
Okay.
And again, that's just.
That chain link fence will stay there?
Yep, that's to
Okay.
utilize he has an impound lot in there, and that,
Yeah.
we're selling the house, we figured,
Okay,
we'll just make it a little better,
yep,
the garage side of the plant.
yep. Now, is there, the lot that's being changed, there's no garage on there, correct? I mean, there's no house? on
No,
the-
no, there's a shed.
There's just a shed, that
that's
little
right,
shed
yeah,
down
right,
there?
Yeah, which will belong to the garage.
Okay,
We have the house, it's being closed on in January, so we
Okay.
kind of set it all up,
all right.
where they know that the shed is over there and stuff, so.
Okay, right. Right now, the shed's part of the existing house lot.
Yep.
Okay.
And then there's you did mention there's a concrete slab, but that's just a slab.
Right there.
Yeah, that's
That's
strapped on
staying
that.
there.
Yep, that's staying there, yep. You mentioned that last time, so.
Right. Okay. Any other discussion on the application? Do you think the application's complete?
I do.
Okay, you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the application as complete.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 That's all. Any opposed? That's 5-0. All right. About the, any questions on the boundary line adjustment? I'll take comments from the audience in a minute.
I think it's what we discussed at the
Right.
conceptual, so I don't
Right.
have any comments.
Okay. Any abutters to this boundary line adjustment have any comments?
All set?
Don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Seeing no hands. Any other discussion? Motion to approve the boundary line adjustment.
I think it's straightforward. I'll make a motion to approve the boundary line adjustment as proposed.
Okay?
Do you want to do the lot?
Yeah, lot line, lots, lots 257-12 and 257-40. Okay?
All right, and I'll second the motion.
Okay, Dot?
The motion, yeah.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's done.
Thank you
Good
very much.
evening. Thanks, everyone. All right. All right, the next item's not gonna go so quickly. Next item is the Green Oak Realty excavation permit application.
Excuse me?
Yes?
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Okay, I'll try to.
We invite these people to come in that are in the door.
Yeah, can people in the doorway try and make your way in? They can squeeze you in on the far side.
Room over here.
So we don't all freeze. Hopefully there aren't 50 more of you out there. All right, where are my babies? Yeah, I know. Can we all get in the building and close the door, please?
We're trying.
Okay.
Is the capacity going to exceed it?
Yep.
We were just asked to keep an aisle right here for camera.
All right.
We got everybody in. Well, we want to have, well, we have to make sure it's complete. We have to ask.
You have yours, that's mine. But you have yours, that's yours. Okay, well, I offered to give you mine, and I thought you took it.
No, not, what, this stuff? No, what's that? Alrighty, let's look the application over. Laura, all the fees and such have been accepted, correct?
Yes.
I don't know if some of these things are on here.
The applicant here?
Over there, right next to Tom Barton. He's standing at the same bit. That's Keith. Yeah. That's Keith Dad.
Some more hydrology stuff.
Deductive water table.
Watershed divide line. Do you want to ask Tom about it?
Yeah, I think so. There's certainly going to be some things that are going to have to be hashed out once we accept this complete too. But there's that information on property value in the house.
Wetland determination by Tom Barton, where what was observed, not in the floodplain. And that's all he says. Permit setbacks.
And this is why we don't have the alteration of plan. This is correct. It's 1.8.
They'll need it, or they
No, they won't. It's under 100,000.
under 100,000. That's why he's doing this. The last thing.
Still have to ensure how we have to have some plans.
Vision control. Alright, let's see.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom Barney?
Yes.
On the application, you need to have right. Yeah. Okay. Before I hold that question, what as the planning board has to do now is we have to go through our application procedure and verify that all the items that the applicant needs to file are here and correct. That way we can approve the application as we can receive it. We can't do anything else until that process is done.
The motion, if it's complete, would be to, like we did
Right.
before, say the application is complete.
Right,
It does not do anything other than saying we received it and we recognize all the items
Right.
are here.
right. So that's what we're doing right now. What was that? So Tom, do you have depth water table on the sheets?
There we go.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I have it. I can see it right here. That'll be sheet one.
It is on sheet one.
Going forward, you can put it over, Scott, if you want.
Huh?
That right there?
Oh, there it is. Okay. Thank you.
I don't remember it being in the narrative here. These things were the-
For the application?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna point out a cemetery here.
Yep.
I can't, okay. I can't go with just the cemetery.
Not seeing it. Tom, Tom Barney, do you have any information on whether the excavation may cause diminution in area property values or unreasonably change the character of the neighborhood?
We don't at this time.
Okay? Will the, you have information on whether the excavation may accelerate the deterioration of highways or create safety hazards?
We can talk about that.
Okay? You've done no studies, no research on that matter?
I have some of that on the plan.
There is some on the plan. Okay, that's my question.
So this one is outstanding. So we'll
Okay.
definitely have to come back to that.
Yep. Laura, has a copy of this been sent to the Conservation Commission?
Yes.
Any comments?
When was it sent? When was it sent?
Have they had a meeting since then?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Excuse me, the Conservation Committee was not given a plat showing 45 acres. They were showing one 1.5 acres.
We've got a conservation committee person right here, and they said they did not receive this.
We did not see it.
You did not see it?
I presented that plan to Ryan Gale 2 meetings ago.
Scott.
We saw one.
Hi, Ron.
1.8 acres.
Conservation Commission did receive a copy of the plat. We had no advance warning that we would be receiving this, but we thought that this was an application that was going to be in process for a little while, so we'll probably take it up at our next meeting.
Very well. What else? The application goes. We have a reclamation plan that I can see.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I think there's certainly things to discuss, but.
Yeah, I know.
The main,
State alternative, so you don't need a state alteration, alteration training.
nope,
So, is there other legislation?
What's the website?
expedition permit? Or is that just it? It's the
They
state
need
built it.
stormwater management, which is what we've got stormwater management in class.
All right. Water quality analysis.
Yep, so that's gonna be a discussion item, what we need.
Okay.
Things that we don't have is, if appropriate, a study by a hydrogeologist, if there's issues there. We might need some specialization, but I don't think we're there yet. And this discussion will move us forward.
Okay.
I think the main thing that we just don't have yet is that.
Yeah.
Everything else.
Conditional,
Yeah,
acceptance?
we're gonna,
Okay. The traffic study or the?
no, that was the impact, property value impact. Well, traffic study's another thing that we will have. He said there's some information on here, but that's something we can ask for more, but. I think it's key to let the public know that we can certainly ask for more things as we move along. But
Right.
As Swin said, the basic idea is to make sure that the bare bones basics.
Okay, so we do have one issue. We're gonna need some information on potential impacts to local property values. There are some other things we'll have to discuss once the application is complete. Are we ready there? Any other items that we can, any other board members see as missing in the application?
Well, just because of the letter written by the department head of Public Works of Wolfboro, I just wonder if there needs to be a traffic and a public safety study.
I think, Tom, you mentioned you've done some traffic work or not?
No, said he was
No
prepared to
traffic.
discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be huge, Dot. Thank you.
Okay.
One other thing I think is important with the nature of this application, and we may have only seen this with one other time. I think Red Oak, we required, but a development of regional impact. It's looking more and more apparent with impacts, to our neighbor Wolfboro. And the travelway there. Well, in Middleton.
Right.
On the other direction, but along Kings Highway, that
I've
corridor.
never declared it. I've never done that before.
Yeah, it's
Did we
right
just
in,
forward and just make the declaration?
yeah, typically it would be done, further in advance. If we had a formal planning
Right.
department, they would have caught that. But, subdivision of regional impact, you want me to just read
Sure.
this so people know what it is? This is a definition.
Can you
This
state
is-
the RSA?
Yeah.
Sure. This is RSA.
Speak up, please.
RSA 36:55. And this falls under review of developments of regional impact. In this subdivision, development of regional impact means any proposal before a land use board which in the determination of such local land use board could reasonably be expected to impact on a neighboring municipality because of factors such as, but not limited to, the following: relative size or number of dwelling units as compared with existing stock, proximity to the borders of a neighboring community, transportation networks, anticipated emissions such as light, noise, smoke, odors, or particles, proximity to aquifers or surface waters which transcend municipal boundaries, shared facilities such as schools and solid waste disposal facilities. So there are a couple of items in there that are clearly triggered here.
Okay. We hear you.
So,
How do you make such a declaration? Did we just declare it and then?
well, I think,
Yeah.
shall review private property in terms of whether or not development is approved reasonably can be construed as having protection of reasonable impact. So you got a notice to the planning commission. We're reaching it right here, so this is a little unusual in terms of how it's.
Yeah.
Prior to the public hearing. So
Yeah, I know.
technically, you really can't accept it until we do it. I mean,
Right.
but I think with all these people here, I think, I'm a little hesitant to not get public comment. That's the regional.
Can we do that before the application's accepted?
We have to. If we're going to do it, we have to do it before we accept the application.
And there's a provision,
What did you say? What? What did you say? Based on the law, if we're going to declare this as a development regional impact, we should have done it 2 weeks ago.
So that may be reason enough to just.
Yeah, we can't accept it. We have to do this again.
Can you accept public input?
Yeah.
Accepting this.
Not normally. Yeah. Do we want to make that declaration?
I think we're gonna have to declare it. I can't just not do it.
What Bob just read about the potential factors that would cause this to be become a development of regional impact. Do we want to make that declaration? That we.
You might want to. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Should you clear that? Say that the one you just.
That's one we just read.
It's hard to hear with you, what that means.
Right, right.
We have to do it before because we've identified it, I think, the way it's written here.
That's
Right.
my concern, I just didn't know
Right.
the process.
There is a provision, if we missed it, that the building inspector can later notify budding communities, but so we've caught it here, so I don't think we can do that.
Okay. So, it's the first time I've come across an event of this size. The normal procedure is for the professional planner in the town to look at the application and make the declaration themselves and notify the abutting communities and such 2 weeks prior to the public hearing. Seeing that we are at the day of the first public hearing, we've not done that at this time.
What about the people across the street from it?
They would also.
Nobody told us about it.
I know. So, do we want to make that declaration? And if we make that declaration tonight, that'll be the end of the hearing.
Well, it's not a hearing yet.
Well, that'll be the end of us handling this issue tonight.
Just deny it.
Just deny it.
No, it's not gonna work, just deny it.
We can't deny it until we've
That what we wanna
accepted
do?
it.
Can't
I think we have to.
That's a neighbor.
He doesn't live there.
Bad, too.
Okay,
I mean, because this,
200 feet from my house.
I understand.
because we should notify town of Wolfboro, town of Middleton,
I'm fine.
and I think both regional planning commissions. We're in Stratford County, but they're in Wolfboro's in.
Carroll County.
Well, I mean, they're in with Lakes Region Planning Commission,
Right.
which is who comes
Right.
from, so.
Okay. So. You file a motion for that? Right?
Yeah,
You have the right to deny it, if I'm correct.
Not at this point.
You read some stuff that conflicts with this that would give you the right to postpone.
Yes. Or deny it.
Deny
there's,
it.
there is due process. We have,
Right, we have a due process procedure we're trying to go through here.
It doesn't comply in any matter.
You guys know that.
Okay? So that's the definition.
Could I ask a question? Or is it not time?
Not at this time.
Okay, I'll wait.
Right there in the regulation, doesn't comply. Should be denied.
So technically, we only have to notify, I guess, our regional planning commission, because it's say commissions, but it would make sense to include Lake
You haven't done their
Region.
homework, come on,
Okay, quiet, please.
come on.
Property's not even zoned for that. It's quite clear.
So, there we go about
Well, make it done, we'll use the permanent form. Let's take a vote, so we'll formalize it. I mean, I think we're.
Because of parts. Now we can say
Yeah.
those things again, right?
Here, I'll make,
Before you do that, let's maybe have some discussion. if
We
you
have
don't mind.
a discussion of board members?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yep.
The issue is, as has been described by the chair, is the proper due process that's required for this application, number one.
Please
So
speak
we
up.
appreciate the patience on this, but the issue here is making sure we have due process and making sure we've considered all of the RSA factors and other factors relative to this application. I think what has been described, given our process of how New Durham does it and the size of New Durham being comparatively small to some other communities, in that we would, as a planning board, look through the applications and try to see some of the various issues that need to be addressed. In this case, this is the first time that we've seen a more complete, I'm not saying it is complete, but a more complete information on this. And therefore, there are some additional RSAs that I think we had to consider, which I think what Mr. Craycraft has just done. So the issue is, do we declare it as a regional impact as one of the issues that need to be addressed? And if so, we would need to do that tonight, which has to be done at least 2 weeks before a public hearing, if I understand the conversation correctly. And again, I'm just summarizing to make sure I understand it, and maybe some of the audience, and where I have misinterpreted, please let me know. And so that's the issue one. As you may have heard through some of the discussion, there appears to be a couple of other things that we see that may not make this application complete as well. And I think you pointed out as examples, perhaps some traffic study issues, as well as property value impact, et cetera. So that may be also impeding from a complete application, although the board has taken no action on that at this time. So the first part that seems to me to be addressed from a process point of view is, does the planning board need to declare this a regional impact? And then maybe describe during the discussion phase, if there is a motion and seconded, how that conclusion might come to be in effect. Is that a fair summary
Yes.
of where we're at?
You're better at summarizing things.
No, I just, again, where I want to make sure that, as I say, I understood, and maybe some help for the audience in case there are questions relative to the process here. Again, the key is that we want to make sure we do the due process appropriately and cleanly and transparently. Okay, so having said that, now Bob, I don't know what your thoughts are, or Scott.
Well, as Bob read the RSA, it clearly does indicate in the definitions several issues that this project could be affecting. Proximity to the borders of neighboring town, it's on the border of the town of Wolfboro. There have been discussions of effect on the transportation networks, noise, and potentially proximity to aquifers or surface waters.
I would,
Those
suggest we look at
possibilities.
two different things, and the traffic issue certainly may impact the regional part of it as well.
Right.
So we're not talking about, it is on the border of a neighboring town. Two, there are potential traffic issues that need to be
Yep.
factored in. And so what would be, what's the other rationale that would cause one to conclude that it may have a regional impact?
Noise, dust pollution.
Please, let's work it here, and then if the chair so chooses, he can seek other input.
Noise, air.
Yeah, noise and potential water issues.
Water should be
And road.
key.
That's the traffic. That's the traffic.
We've already listed that.
Safety for the kids.
Schools that they affect.
Again,
Okay.
if we could look at the RSA first and just make sure that we have rationale that's developed from what's the law.
Can educate you.
Did the RSA not say particular
Well, one
matter?
of, excuse me, but one of our jobs is also to be fair to the applicant.
Right.
We have to make sure that we do the right thing by him too. He's taken the time, Mr. Barney's taken the time to draw up a study. They need to have a voice in this process as well.
It won't directly impact us. Indirectly, if there's safety, that will be in the transportation network. But
I have a question.
It's not relevant.
When a complete study is
Just
done, is there anyone on this
Wait to be
planning
recognized by
board-
the chair, please.
Sorry.
I don't know if you're recognized or not.
You want to hold
Well,
questions until we've done?
I'm reluctant to start answering questions. We'll be here all night. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we're citizens. This isn't democracy if we don't get a say.
Just, again, let's
please
have
hold your
the planning board do the discussion relative to what we may develop for rationale for any decisions, and then, as I say, it's up to the chair whether he opens up for questions and comments after that. One other question I have is, should we choose to make it a regional impact decision? What does that mean and how it's the next steps on that?
Okay. If we make that declaration, then there is a procedure outlined that this one, right? 93?
Yeah.
Yeah. At least 14 days prior to a public hearing, the local land use board shall notify by certified mail all affected municipalities and the regional planning commission of the date, time, and place of the hearing and the right to testify concerning the development.
Who are
So-
those people? Because I wasn't informed and I live across the street.
What about abutters?
That's right.
No.
I think they're reading straight from RSA,
That
so.
is straight from the RSA.
So require abutters to be notified?
Again, look at the difference here, if I may. What we're talking about right now is the regional impact as opposed to a more local impact, which will be the butters and the town, et cetera. So
The
what
butters-
right now, the topic is only the regional impact decision.
Okay.
So butters would come as another part of the discussion, but not as part of the regional
Right.
impact at this stage.
Can I ask a question about that regional impact?
That's up to the chair.
You're getting a letter from the Wolfboro Planning Commission right now stating all of their,
Do we have that? I don't
We
know if
have
that.
one from Wolfboro, but it's not the, we have one from Wolfboro, but it's not the planning board.
Right.
Department of
I
Public
spoke to them
Works.
yesterday and they said they were sending a letter.
Okay.
Well,
We just,
we have not received it yet, so.
unless
We have
it's
a
in
copy.
the-
Aren't you in the process of deciding the application?
No.
Whether you're gonna accept the application?
That has not been decided yet.
That has not been decided.
May I just?
Yeah, Bob?
So, as we're discussing this application, what we're deliberating is whether or not we can accept it as complete. And that has all the fundamental elements that are needed to begin to discuss more substantive elements of the application. Also take more direct public comment from people in the audience. So the first step is accepting it as complete, and then we go on to deliberate, get comment, and then eventually down the line, it sometimes happens the same day, other times it can be weeks or months down the road. There's the approval, disapproval process.
We have this one.
Right. Okay. We already have it.
So, Scott?
Yes.
Can I just, I'm still not sure people really understand here what the process is. Unless the planning board declares that the application is complete, you can't entertain public comment on the application.
Correct.
Is that true?
Yes, that is
Okay,
correct.
So the application has to be declared as complete. Then you can, the planning board can entertain public comment. The problem is, if the planning board makes the decision that there is in fact a regional impact, and a regional impact study needs to be done, then the application is not complete, and we won't be able to accept public comment.
Tonight.
So that's the conundrum that the planning board
Okay.
is
But will you
in.
be
They don't
notified
want to
of
say
when
no to all of
the
you,
next hearing will be?
but they don't want to say no to everyone here. Clearly, there's a lot
Right.
of concern. They're not trying to ignore that. But at the same time, they got to follow the process, and that's
Thank
what
you.
the process is.
Internal question. Does the town have any bylaws in place now regarding operation of these kind of sand pits, gravel pits, closure, et cetera?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And this complies, or you haven't got to that stage?
We haven't gotten to that point yet. That's the rule book we're following.
We'll let you do your work.
First step is to get the application accepted.
Another internal question. Is there any process in which that you are gonna inform us about the time that you come to these meetings to decide these things?
As far as I understand it, all the butters to this site have been notified.
I have not been notified.
What's in a butter? How many feet would you notify?
Abutters are
Been notified.
property owners whose property abuts the site in question.
What about across the street? All the people across the street and all the developments across the street? That doesn't make any sense.
And what about the people being affected by the shockwaves?
How will we be notified every time there's a hearing on this matter, so we can all be here for this hearing?
That's a public notice.
Because we will be back.
Right.
That's to the butters.
Huh?
We need to notify everybody on Kings Highway.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Quiet.
They are considered the butters.
Across the street.
I don't know, I'm looking for the list.
You have to go through. Again, stop. Stick on the original impact. That's where
Yeah, the declaration issue.
stick on that decision.
Right. I think we should just make.
That'll dictate how else. Scott?
Yeah.
Scott?
Yep.
That'll dictate however.
Right.
I have an internal question. Is there anyone on the planning board that can actually read the studies to understand the shock waves, the air pollution, how it travels, and the turbidity loss?
We're not at that point. So any other discussion on the declaration of regional impact? Where you want to go? All right. All right.
What were you asking, Scott?
Any other discussion on making the declaration of regional impact? I think we need to do it.
Well, I think
Call for motion.
the key piece, again, we'll make it public. The key piece on the discussion here, again, is on the regional impact part. Should the planning board decide to do such a decision, I think the motion would be, if the motion were to be made, would be to have that and also state the rationale why it would be that determination. It also makes it clear to the applicant what the expectations would be for any input into that factor. Again, you want to be fair to both parties.
Okay. You want to make that motion, or you want me to?
Yeah, I'll make it.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion in accordance with RSA 36:55 to declare this application as a development of regional impact based on the proximity to the borders of a neighboring community, transportation networks, in particular Kings Highway, anticipated emissions such as light, noise, smoke, odors, or particles, and the proximity to aquifers or surface waters which transcend municipal boundaries.
Okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
Terry, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion is unanimous. So now, the next step is, we will not be accepting this application tonight. We are going to notify the appropriate municipalities, the Regional Planning Commission, and we'll be scheduling another public hearing. At least 2 weeks, probably in the next month. At least 2 weeks, it has to be at least 14 days from today.
He can withdraw his application though, right?
If the applicant wants to withdraw, that's.
Our next meeting is 2 weeks. Quiet, please. Quiet, please. Quiet, please. Quiet, please. Our next meeting is 2 weeks from tonight. If it requires 14 days notice, you wouldn't be able to do that until the first week of January.
Right. The first Tuesday in January is most likely the time of the next hearing.
And that's dependent upon
how the municipality and the Regional Planning Commission react to it.
Would immediate abutters be notified by certified mail?
I don't think so.
This is your
It doesn't say
notification
that
tonight.
in.
This is your
It doesn't say
notification
that in the law.
But you didn't open the public hearing, so would it be a
But
new
this is a
public-
notice. When we delay the hearing, this is considered your notice.
Right.
Residents do not want a big four
Quiet,
at
please.
Christmas.
What about the other abutters that are not here?
Be on the website.
Oh, they're gonna.
It'll be on the website, posted outside.
So you're gonna go by this, they need to check with Laura.
Yeah.
The one that goes in there.
Quiet, please.
Quiet, please.
Quiet, please.
So you're gonna put it like in papers and stuff like that too? How's everybody notified?
The same way everyone was notified before. I mean, not, no, hold on. Let me retract that. This is,
Because we're continuing.
This is a little larger scale than what the
Yeah.
normal.
Not the authority. We were never informed about this.
if you are in a, let me say this, if you are in a butter, we mean your property abuts this property in question, not some quarter-mile down the road. But if, quiet, if you were in a butter and you were not notified by certified mail, please.
Literally across the street.
There were 26 of you.
We have a list of 26 butters. I think we got you all. But you can notify.
Yeah. Scott.
Yeah.
If they're in a butter and they did not get notified, ask them to contact the resident.
Right. If you are in a butter and you were not notified, please contact the land use person.
The housing development needs to be notified. That is a short walk to the quarry site. There are 100 homes. It's called Sherwood Forest. Everybody there, their drinking water, their foundations impacted
They're here
by the
tonight,
blasting.
though. So they're not.
Legally, that,
My house.
Yes, not to mention
Quiet,
owls.
quiet.
Owls.
Well, we wanna know how you're gonna notify everybody.
You notified tonight?
yes. Everyone, all the butters have been notified the meeting is tonight. This statement I'm making now is your is those notifications.
Ask Laura what her process is. Ask Laura what her process is. Let's move on.
Right.
They're posted on the website. They're posted on the
May I ask
website.
a question? I've waited until you made your determination. This is my fourth time of asking. May I ask a question?
Okay.
To my understanding, this land is in New Durham, but the water drainage from it doesn't come to New Durham. It won't get to Merritt Meeting Lake. It goes into Russ Pond, Wentworth, etc.
Okay.
The road traffic doesn't come to New Durham. They would have to work really hard to get on New Durham roads, other than that one little stretch on Kings Highway. So
That's not a little stretch.
Well, all right, we're getting, those are a valid question, but it's about the application, and we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Well, what I'm thinking is it right for New Durham to make this decision without approval from the other towns that have much?
That's why we just made a
impact?
declaration of regional impact.
But are you going to accept what they say, or are you just gonna?
We have to.
No.
Well, we accept their opinions, but it'll still be ultimately New Durham's decision.
But I'm just saying, is it right for you
The
to
board.
make that decision if Wolfboro or Middleton says this is not a good idea? Can you override them? I'm trying to figure out how this process works.
We will take all the input that we receive.
But you can override
is-
them, is what you're saying,
Our final, the final decision is with the board.
even though it doesn't affect New Durham hardly at all compared to the other two communities.
The final decision will be New Durham's decision.
Protects everybody on Kings Highway.
Okay?
Okay.
Property exists in New Durham. It's New Durham Planning Board decision.
Well, I can phrase it a little differently too, is
We've got a great school down here. Can we use the gym down
That's a potential possibility.
We recognize there was going to be a significant turnout. First of all, thank you all, both the applicant and for those who came to voice their opinions on it. Thank you for coming, and, you know, the participation in town government like that, for me, is a very much of a positive, number one. But number two is we anticipated a larger group tonight, which is why we moved it from the town hall's middle room to here. It was even larger than I think we may have anticipated, so I think in the next event, we can anticipate perhaps this kind of a crowd, and we would try to accommodate a facility that can work that.
Okay. Bob?
to address the question of whether or not we take other things into consideration from the budding municipalities. Basically, we have to follow our own rules, our New Durham regulations and ordinances, but they do not necessarily differentiate impacts to New Durham versus the abutting communities. We talk about water quality, protecting aquifers, protecting public safety. So if there's safety issues or other water quality issues that transcend town boundaries, I think based on our regulations, we have to abide by our regulations and protect the water quality regardless of where it is, or other
Yes.
other elements. So just a kind of a broad brush approach to answering that question.
And yes, we will consider all input, but it won't be Wolfborough's planning board that makes the decision, which is what I think the questioner might have been getting at, or maybe that's how I interpret it. It will be New Durham's decision, but all the input we receive will be considered, and we will follow all the appropriate laws and procedures.
Including the
Wolfboro and Middleton both say this is not a good idea. You can still override that, is what you're saying.
We are, just quickly again, to repeat,
Get that far.
phrase the question the way you'd like, but the answer is that we are bound to adhere to New Durham's requirements, regulations, zoning, et cetera. That's what we're bound to, as well as the states. And that's what we have to follow, and I think that's what we're trying to express here.
Point of information? May I speak?
It's up to him.
Yes, sir?
Would you feel more comfortable if we had legal counsel than a bunch of us being involved?
I just,
A professional.
that's your call. I don't know how to answer
I'm
that.
asking, would you be more comfortable?
I don't have, I
That's
don't
not our
have an
decision.
opinion on that.
That's not our decision.
Whatever you want to do.
Something on that, the sooner the better.
Oh. Just as a point of information, RSA 672:3 defines a butter as meaning any person whose property is located in New Hampshire and adjoins or is directly across the street or stream from the land under consideration by the local land use board. If you have property that fits that definition and you were not notified, then
Let the town, let Laura know.
contact the land use administrator, Laura, and town, and
She'll adjust the list.
we'll adjust the list.
Nothing states under community wells or utilities?
Sorry?
Based on the state, based on the state definition. It's based on the state
That is
definition.
the state definition of an abutter.
Fitting your description, everyone here is in a butter because we all have connection to the waterways.
No.
That's not the way the definition is
And all
written.
of the waterways will be affected.
Directly across the street.
Again, just quickly to the point, don't miss the definition of the difference between an abutter and the regional impact. The water piece of it affects the regional impact potentially, which is what we've described as part of that motion that was passed. The abutter is a very specific definition, which the chair just read out of the RSA. So don't confuse those two.
Right, two separate issues. So,
Just,
yeah,
I don't want to put him on the spot.
right. Tom, do you want to make any comments about?
I'm afraid to say anything, but this is a two-sided process.
Right.
We'd like to present our plans, and we'd like you to listen to what it is that's being proposed here, and we can answer your questions about that. So we'd like to have the normal process that normally transpires here at a planning board meeting without a lot of angry people. I'm not concerned about it.
But you understand why we're angry, right?
Yes, I do,
Mr. Marty?
but,
We were never notified about this. None of us want a gravel pit next to two developments in our homes.
All right.
Your application isn't complete.
It's not like a
All right,
process.
all right.
Quiet.
So I appreciate what you've done. I understand the regional impact.
Yeah.
You make a decision, they get a butters notice, they have status as an abutter, and then that's the way that the town of Wolfboro would have input in this. And that's the correct and the right way of doing this, so that's fine.
I guess my response to you, Mr. Varney, would be if it
No,
were
wait,
complete,
wait.
then
All
maybe
right.
you wouldn't put this forward because you would realize it wasn't a good idea in the first place.
All right, that's not, all right.
So basically, that's the end of this meeting. and
Yes.
Everybody else wants to know when the next meeting will be.
I think we described that.
Right on that too. Their plan,
Yes.
their creed.
You can't set a date now?
Yeah.
Um, Potentially, the first Tuesday in January.
Which is January 3rd.
That is potential. That is not confirmed until we hear back from those other towns and make sure that they agree with that
with their inputs.
With their
But-
inputs.
but that's January 3rd, 2017.
And notices will be posted on the town website and bulletin board outside. Okay? There are different timelines for different things.
I have some questions.
Yeah.
Quiet, please. Quiet. You have one more question if you want.
One last question.
One last question. Due to the oversight of the notification, can we request a public statement that, in the newspaper or something, that this meeting is happening concerning this gravel pit?
We can probably do that.
I appreciate that.
Have a normal public hearing notification. Put a normal public hearing.
Right. Everyone's gonna have to do that. You know, we're gonna have to figure that out.
This,
I know.
we didn't open this to the public hearing.
I know.
We did not open it to the public hearing.
Well, because you could reach that, I guess, the town would planning staff. Yeah.
Quiet, please.
Like that, it's
I don't think it's, the reason I asked is
I guess that's why it just.
Yeah.
Can I get an answer?
Okay.
Can I get an answer? Since the oversight
So-
that nobody. So there will be some form of public post newspaper
Yeah.
stating out,
It'll be on the town's website and then on normal.
Yes, town's website.
but not anything more than that, not the newspaper. Because this is huge.
I don't know what newspaper would be.
Right.
What's the
So 5 days, you have to give them the minutes. 5 days, you have to give them the minutes. 14 days.
Okay, quiet, please.
So the answer's no.
Quiet, please. That does conclude our addressing of the Green Oak Realty excavation permit for this evening. I'll recess us for 5 minutes for people that are not interested in other items on the agenda can exit.
Or do we continue it, or?
Yeah.
We
Well,
have
that's
to
why
continue
I
it,
asked.
otherwise we'll have to renotice everybody. And I know people want that, but that's not, I don't think it's the way it works here. Because it would continue the public hearing to a such and such a
Right.
date, that could also always be recessed to another date.
Right, all right, let's do that then. So we'll,
But
You didn't open the hearing.
You didn't open a hearing.
didn't open it. Did
Well,
not open the
Open the
hearing.
hearing.
Well, to continue the acceptance, we have it
Right.
as an
That you can do.
acceptance in public
Yeah.
That you
hearing.
can do.
all right, so we'll continue the acceptance of the application for Green Oak Realty to the, what was the date? January 3rd, 2017.
Continue the acceptance review, right?
Right.
Is there an obligation for the applicant to complete the application?
Before it's accepted.
Yeah.
There is.
Yes, sir.
We won't need a
By
motion
postponing
to,
this, they have to complete.
Yeah, so I just made the motion. Do I have a second for that?
okay.
I'll second that.
Bob, second that?
So basically, the motion is to continue the acceptance review to January 3rd, 2017. Is that
Right,
correct?
that's correct. Any discussion on that?
If you continue, though, did I hear Bob say that that means you don't notify, you don't re-notify?
No, if we're continuing, we do not need to re-notify all the abutters. That's correct.
Should we re-notify all the abutters, given this discussion tonight?
Yeah.
Well, we have to do it on our, we have to do it on our dime. We can't ask the applicant.
Right.
He's legally obligated to post one time.
Right.
So the regional planning commission of the town, I think probably would be under him. We'll have to figure that out.
Right.
But not, well, that would,
Like you said before, if you are in a butter and you were not notified, then get in touch with the town.
I did, and they said that they would send me it officially, and they didn't, so.
Then do it again.
Can you
Go notify, contact the town.
put your request in email or writing would be helpful for us to make sure we have that. If you would do that, that would, to our land use clerk.
So we have a motion on the table to continue this application for the Green Oak Realty excavation permit to January 3rd, 2017. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Let's at least do this before Christmas, because...
Quiet, please.
We'll take a 5-minute recess.
5-minute recess while we clear the room.
Thank you, everyone.
If we have petition.
All right. That was fun.
Thank you, sir. You want it?
No, that's okay.
I don't even know
Once
where he
again,
is.
I'm sorry for being loud and vocal, but
You're fine.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Fine, okay, bye.
No, it was nice to see you.
Laura, do we have the minutes? Did you pass those out? I don't know if I have them. Good. I don't remember seeing them.
They were colored, Zach.
I gave them to you last week.
Oh, God, I don't have them.
I have several sets.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
See ya, Keith.
Minutes of October 18th,
Uh-huh.
November 1.
See you in January, right?
Yep. See ya. Good Christmas.
Are those two?
Here's all my copies, if you mark them up and give them back to me so I can make corrections.
Okay, that works. Okay, we'll start with the October 18th minutes.
Let the next meeting adjourn, see what who all shows up this year. Have a good night. Have a good Christmas, actually.
Thanks, Dave.
I have an amended,
Yeah.
I was, but I didn't bring it up.
Oh, right. Oh, no, oh boy.
Do we all have the minutes?
Are we back on?
Yes, we're back on, as far as I know.
Oh, wait a minute, I might have them in this.
Oh, you don't need to turn
Oh,
it
I
on.
think I do.
No, I know. Whatever was up here, conversation is done. We're back in session.
From the ridiculous to the sublime. You missed the crowd, Danny. Huh? You missed the crowd. Well, there's no room for it.
I think we are in session, just in case.
Yeah,
people
we're
are
all-
wondering.
Quiet, please. Okay, I wonder where that was.
Page 2, you're gonna need to add whatever the map amount was.
Uh, Have we reviewed the minutes for the 18th?
You'll need on page 2 to add the map and lot. I didn't have that.
Right.
All right.
I don't have that on hand. Do you know what that is, anyone? The wetland permit, there was a correspondence from the Conservation Commission. It was somewhere on North Shore Road, I believe, but that's the best I can say.
There's a wetland permit, right? Do not recall.
I don't know how critical that is. It was just.
So you just asked that it be reviewed, yes, approval be, have that filled in by Laura.
Yeah, if she can figure out which one it was.
Well, it's in the minutes, I think, or it's in the.
This is the minutes.
Well, no,
I mean,
sorry,
it might be on the,
minutes, but,
on the
yeah, on the
tape.
agenda.
It was mail. It was
didn't
not
have
an
on the
agenda
agenda?
item.
Oh,
It was just mail from the Conservation Commission. So it's just one of those, dealt with a half a dozen of those wall rebuilds in the past 2 months. So I don't know which one it was.
Laura would still have it.
If you can figure it out. Can you turn that down? Any other comments on the minutes for the 18th? I'll take a motion.
That was as written, right? Minus the,
Yeah, we can, I don't know if we can figure out that map and lot for that. I don't know if we can do that or not. It was just correspondence, it wasn't an item on our agenda. You know? So I don't know if we can even figure it out. There's several of them.
I don't think it's critical, it's
No,
Conservation Commission
it's not.
sees those.
Right.
I just can't recall which one it was. It's what I.
Can we just, can we edit out the specific of the map and lot number?
Just take out that map, XX, lot,
Yeah, just remove that phrase.
With that,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 18th as amended.
Second,
I'll second that.
any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, next, minutes for the first. November, 1st. Minus. A question on page 2, a motion to nominate Jeff Allard. Why is the vote 501? What's the one?
What, you're on November
Page 2,
1st?
November 1st, page 2, on the back of the second page, the alternate function, motion to nominate Jeff to be an alternate. The vote was 501. Who's won?
That was a typo.
This is 5-0.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
500.
So,
That's a good catch.
okay. Any other items on the minutes? Yeah, there's two of those instances with the 501, the adjourning motions also that way. There's no other discussion, I'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the November 1st minutes as amended.
Second,
Second.
Carrie? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. November 15th minutes. This one hasn't been modified.
on page 1.
Yep.
On the appointment, I'd like to see the vote is 4-0-0. I think Bob is absent. Yeah. And both on the amendment passed and on the motion passed, 4-0-0.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Okay. On page 2,
Yep.
two things. One is there's, I think, on the motion, a bold part in the middle. Third line should be an E, should be rationale. Should be an E at the end. And the indicate of that was that the motion failed for lack of a second, which is probably correct, but I think the reason for that is that the understanding by the planning board was that the CIP would not meet again anyway. So I think that was expressed during
Yeah.
that discussion, so
Yeah.
I'd like to see a sentence to that effect of saying why it failed. I don't think it failed just because it wasn't support. I think it failed because there was comment made by CIP members that they would not meet again.
Right. Discussion among board members.
Input indicated
Yeah.
that the CIP committee would not meet again. Input during this discussion indicated, the CIP committee would not meet again.
Okay.
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 Scott, page 2.
Yep.
What's the, sorry?
Watershed District Ordinance.
Yep.
The question marks are Paul Roslavicus. Gave the summary.
Somebody misspelled my name so easy?
No, they actually
didn't
just
even
put
include it.
Question mark, question
They
mark.
just put in 5 question marks. Hard to believe that you were unknown to them.
I'm just a big question mark, that's it.
You're always full of questions.
I'll make sure I'm in it, take the news you want. Listen to that.
Yeah, you should get a little short key, just push
That's
the
right.
buttons and out will come to open.
Speed dial.
Okay. Any other items on the minutes? I hear a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of November 15th, 2016 as amended.
Second.
I'll second.
Twins? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Bob abstains. Okay. Mail and correspondence, I think we just have a town and city, correct? Blah, blah, blah. Let's look at it. Did you give me that? I don't know if you gave me it or not, to be honest, unless this is it. Okay. So we have another application coming.
It's a wetland.
Oh, it's just a conservation thing.
Great.
Okay. Dredge and fill, wetland permit, Pine Point Road. This is dated October 5th.
We just received it though, because it was just in my mailbox.
Okay. You haven't
It's
seen
one for
it?
the conservation.
600 square foot perched beach is proposed to be installed with proper runoff for protection of stormwater infiltration. Walkway from the existing porch to the beach will be installed. Repairs to the existing slope adjacent to the lake to control erosion and stabilize the bank. 223 feet of shore frontage. Approximately 1,000 square feet of shore front is affected. Natural Heritage Bureau was queried. They don't find anything on site. Butters. You're better at these things more than I am, but it looks okay to me. Pretty. Looks good to me. Anyone else want to look?
South Shore.
Okay. New, old, other business, CIP review.
5 points.
Come to my attention somewhere in my papers here that we forgot to do a couple things last time, unfortunately.
I actually have it's the same thing as that, except I added 3 columns.
Okay.
Pass that down.
We actually didn't
Pass it down. The unfortunate part is
make an official motion on
it's,
it.
it's the same information, it's just, yeah, right.
Okay.
Same information. I added the TA recommendations that we had in that memo. Then I had blank columns for any board of selection or budget commission action. That happened later on.
Yep.
But everything else is the same, right, is what you had.
So I think what we still need to do, we still have not made an official approval, disapproval, or acceptance of the CIP plan submitted by the committee, if I understand that right. And we didn't tell anybody besides ourselves what we want to do with our amendments. That's the dirty way of saying it.
Yes.
It's kind of the way I speak sometimes. So, I guess the first item is, what do we want to do with the CIP plan that was submitted to us? Do we want to acknowledge this, accept it as it is, or it's still that weird question we still have? I don't know how to, in the past, we usually just changed a couple numbers and approved it as amended. But this year, it's a little different. Our amendment is more extensive than normal.
Well, I think, first of all, I think you probably want to recognize that you received a CIP report.
Right.
Not approve or anything or accept or anything like that, but you received it. So,
Right.
You probably want to officially recognize that. And then I do agree that you probably want to have some sort of action that said CIP is, the planning board has reviewed the CIP report and have made certain changes to the recommended funding levels as defined in that thing that
Right.
we last discussed.
Right, and this,
I
as
think
indicated
for me,
in
those
this,
are probably the 2 things that need to be done.
right, as indicated in the spreadsheet, right?
Yeah. Under the planning board column.
Right.
Did we make some recommendations to, just to add some language that we felt that it really didn't have enough supporting information. That was my memory.
We talked about that, yeah, that was, I don't even know where my notes went. So lost.
Cover on the back of that.
Aha, here we go. So, do we want to make a, do we want to make a motion to officially receive the CIP report from the committee?
Yeah. I'll make a motion that the planning board has received the CIP report.
Okay,
For the year 2000.
second.
Who's second?
Bob? Okay.
Further discussion or a vote or
Yeah,
what?
do we want to, anyone want to, is there any discussion on that motion? Swens and Bob?
That we received it.
Yep. Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. So, we don't have any, we don't have a, I don't know how we want to word a motion as to what we want to do now. Swens did put some notes together.
Yeah, I think those are more for the background there. I think the key
Right.
part here would be, and we had those before we, or during that discussion, I should say. I think the key
Right.
part here is that you need an official action that says that, hold my own chart here. That said, the planning board has recommended the CIP funding levels as defined on the accompanying table dated 12/4/16. Under the CIP approved CIP, under the, planning board approved CIP funding column.
Right.
Something to that effect.
Right.
The other is just, informative background data.
Right.
And both the TA recommended the CI report information and the comments.
Yeah. Yeah, do the comments explain our rationale enough, or do we need to?
Most do, yes. Not sure all of them do, but most do.
Someone's phone ringing.
So can we incorporate these changes and then accept the report?
Pardon?
Can we incorporate, these are the changes that we discussed long and hard
Right.
at the last meeting.
Right.
They look to me to be what we discussed.
Yeah.
Can we accept these changes, incorporate them into the report, and then
Well,
accept the report, or does there?
I don't know that they can be incorporated into the report because, A, the numbers in some cases are different, and in some cases, the rationale to build to those numbers may be a little
Right.
bit different. So I'm not sure we would be able to incorporate it into the report, but we'd certainly be able to pass on to the Board of Selectmen on the Budget Committee saying the planning board has officially recommended
Right.
these numbers,
These amendments or these
and where
changes.
there's explanation given, it's there. That's the only difference I would see.
Right.
Can we make it an addendum to the report?
I actually think it stands alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's up to the planning board.
All right.
Scott, I have one
Yeah.
just clarification, because I continually get confused by this. It looks to me, if I read this, we start on page 1 and we end on page 2.
Correct.
And it looks to me like we're saving, and I don't know if that's the right word, and I don't really understand CRFs and ETFs and don't claim to, but it looks to me like we're putting aside $325,300 for all the various projects that we
Yeah.
discussed.
We're recommending that be done.
Yeah.
Recommending that. This DPW road projects, that is a recommended amount that is to be spent in 2017, is that correct? Because that's where I get confused.
Well, that was part of the issue we were having with the way the CIP committee put their report together.
Yes.
They separated out things as money they wanted to be, almost like, it was like a guarantee, we want this money spent this year. It was
Yeah, we're-
separated out instead of part of the CIP.
It wasn't always clear that they
And it
understood
wasn't-
the difference between funding levels and expenditure levels.
Right.
Right. It's here on page 5 where by the end of the meeting last time, I was quite confused. The top part, CRFs and ETFs, is money that's going into accounts to buy equipment, whatever, down the road.
Right.
2017 requests,
Right.
if I read this correct, and CIPC recommended, that was the committee's recommendation to spend in 2017, not save, but spend, correct? And I think we got confused about that initially.
No, I think that what you'll find in the narrative part is that some of those requests were also identified in the narrative as CRF funding.
Right.
So
That's-
there was, I think
that's
there was a
what was
misunderstanding in the CIP part. And what we were trying to do is indicate that, there is a difference between the CRF funding side of it versus spending side out of our CRF, which is the Board of Selectmen's authorization, et cetera, or other trust funds maybe.
So this column from fire command car down to DPW road projects,
Right.
are some of these on the saving side, or are they all on the spending side? Do we know?
Because of how the report was written with the narrative, question marks on the narrative side of it, I interpreted, based on my review, that they were looking to fund all that. That's how it was described in the narrative piece. That's why you see, as an example, under fire vehicles, $100,000 under the CIP report. It's the $40,000 for the truck and the $60,000 for the command car.
Right.
And then, based on our discussion at our prior workshop, we came with a compromise position of $80,000 as the funding level.
Right.
But the 60,000 is being recommended to be spent to buy the command car this year.
I don't know that. I
Right.
can't definitively say that.
Right.
Okay. That's where I think we got quite
Right.
confused last week.
Right, we did get
Do
confused.
we need to resolve this to finalize this report?
The issue I would take is confused. I don't think it was confused because we recognized that there was a misunderstanding on the CIP part.
Right.
What we tried to do is unwrap that and say, based on some of the narrative that's there and the table that was there, put it all into a funding scenario.
Right.
And then that's where the 80,000 compromise position came in.
Right.
The spending part is not a CIP decision, quite frankly.
Right. Right. The CIP report is supposed to be recommendations to maintain
Nor is it a planning
the
board
system.
decision.
Right, okay. Yeah, because what is confusing is there's a total here, 446,500, so I would assume that
Where's-
means that.
Bottom of page
For that,
5
yeah,
of the
right.
actual
And
report.
again, that's why I say
That
we
suggests that it
we
either
understand
is-
there was a mix.
It's all savings or it's
Yeah.
all spendings,
Right.
because it's spending, because it's all total.
And that was part of the rationale that I have used to come to the conclusion that I think there was some misunderstanding in CIP.
Does this clarify this sufficiently?
In my opinion, it
I think it
does.
does.
Because what
Okay.
we've said is that all of these are fundings, not expenditures.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. If that clarifies this by what we've done here, then that seems reasonable.
It doesn't have the road project in though?
Well, no, it does.
But
We did
it's
not,
underneath.
we did not talk, the planning board did not talk about the road projects during our discussion. I mean, I
Well,
should
we
take that
did.
back. We talked about it, but we didn't come up to any specific number, based on my understanding.
Right.
And again,
So what does
that,
it mean
again,
when it's
just to
on
be
yours?
clear, so we understand why, in my opinion, is that is a expenditure side.
Right.
The funding part is the $50,000 in roads
Right. Right. That's correct.
on the first page.
Right. If you look at the
The
amount.
340 is an expenditure
Right.
side.
Right, and that's not to be made by the planning board or the CIP committee itself.
Right, and just to make sure that that's further clarified, there may be a funding side of it through a tax raising appropriation as part of the warrant article, but again, that's outside of planning board and CIP stuff.
Right.
And why I say that is that oftentimes that number is what would likely be spent, but then you subtract what the, highway roadblock grant is, it's usually in the $100,000 to $115,000 area, $120,000 area, and then you subtract Board of Selectmen decision on how much they suggest taking out of the road CRF.
Right.
And then the balance of anything left after that would be raised by taxation, and that's how that article, a warrant article, would likely be phrased.
Right.
So again, that's why you don't see it as a planning board funding recommendation there.
No,
Right.
I think you explained that. Now that I look at this, I think you explained that adequately. You
Right.
said it's not a CIP funding issue, but the planning board didn't disagree.
Right, we
But it-
didn't
but it's-
raise any
but it-
issues with it.
But it's not our
Right.
issue.
Right, because there is, if the town does want to spend $340,000 on roads this year, there will be just about, especially with a block grant, there will be enough funds in the CRF.
Yeah,
to
usually
do that.
what,
So-
again, it's up to the Board of Selectmen, but, so I won't speak on behalf of them, but usually what you want to do is you want to have something in the order of $100,000 to $150,000 at least in that fund to take care of any emergency issues that might come up during the year. So you wouldn't want to spend that down to zero, in my opinion. So there may
Right.
still have to be some taxation raised on the roads for
Right.
that number, if that's the number that ends up to be part of the warrant article.
Okay. Any other questions?
Can you just explain in the highway truck line?
Yeah, that was the amount that the planning board suggested that we add to the funding level.
Right.
But then your comment?
Yeah, it's under the comments, no CIP recommendation for funding level, for funding November 2016. Planning board voted on this as an individual line item, 5-0.
Right. So the CIP report had no money for highway trucks
Right.
for this year. It's the original report that was submitted to us.
That's right.
As a board, we disagreed and added $50,000 to that account. Okay?
It was a long night, just refresh
It was a
my
long
memory.
night.
As
It
we
was
say,
quite a
don't
long
go into
night.
that discussion.
Oh, why not?
Okay? Any other discussion? So I guess we'll accept a motion to accept the planning board's recommended CIP funding levels as indicated on this two-page spreadsheet.
So moved.
Bob, second?
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's unanimous. Okay. Watershed Overlay District.
Again.
Again. Somewhere in my file. I think I have this.
Everyone should have 2 copies of 2 proposals.
12, 6, and 11:30.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there are 2 proposals. There is and I'll explain this in not great detail, but certainly in enough detail that we'll all understand. There is a 6-acre minimum proposal, and that one has 3 paragraphs in the purpose and authority. There's a second proposal that Paul and I would like to present, and that has actually 4 paragraphs in the purpose and authority, and that'll help you to just distinguish the 2. So does everyone have copies of the 2 proposals?
I'm missing the 12-6, but I could look over somebody's shoulder if you would.
Okay.
Okay, is everyone else?
Okay, so which one are we starting with?
Starting with the 6.
Starting with 12-6, okay?
12-6.
These are new drafts
These are new drafts.
Okay.
And I'll take you through just very quickly what
Okay.
we changed. Most of, an additional 6 acre. Okay.
Thank you.
And I think Paul provided those to, at least to Ron and to Chris, so hopefully folks here are aware of the changes that we've made and proposed. But I'll explain all that. What I'd like to do, just as an overview, I'd like to describe the 6 acre proposal, because that's what we've been talking about. And that's what the planning board has commented on at least two prior occasions. But I want to introduce you to a second proposal, which we believe is a little better. And I want to explain how that came about and what our thinking was and what led to this. And I'd like to kind of describe both of them first, because we like the second proposal better. And if, in fact, you like the second proposal better, then we don't have to go back through all the details of the first proposal.
You're calling 1130 the second proposal?
I think, yes, it should have been, they should both have been dated 12/6. But the second proposal is the 12 acre, and that's the one, Swens, that has 4 paragraphs under purpose and authority.
Okay.
The 6 acre proposal that I want to start with has only 3 paragraphs under purpose and authority.
Okay.
And that's the one that you've seen in the past. And we have not made significant changes, but we have made changes to this one. So I'll go through those in the 6 acre.
Okay.
And then I'd like to introduce you to our thinking. Why did we think that we had a better approach, and
Okay.
describe that to you. So 6 acre proposal in A, purpose and authority, no change. In the district boundary, Paul realized actually that Rattlesnake Mountain is outside of the watershed area, and then in fact Mount Eleanor is in the watershed district. So we replaced Rattlesnake Mountain with Mount Eleanor.
Okay.
C and D, definitions and uses and limitations, there were no changes. E, we reordered. Mostly we just reordered. We realized it was kind of in a more random order than it really should have been. But everything remains the same with the exception of E.4. And this is the one that we've been talking about several times in the past. And this is the topping. And I hope that we expressed what we described at the last meeting where we drew it up on the easel. And what we've said is there's a cone, a view cone in front of the home that's allowed for topping for a view. And that view cone can start 50 feet wide anywhere along the building envelope. And then it extends out at a 45-degree angle. And I do in fact have a drawing, and I apologize I didn't make copies of this in time for the meeting, but we do have a revised drawing that discusses this.
You have it with you? Can you
And I
send
do,
it?
and I'd be happy to. Let me keep the original copy so I don't lose that, but by all means, take a look at that.
So if the building envelope is, say, 75 feet, for example?
Right.
The view cone could start anywhere inside, the 50-foot wide view cone starts inside that building envelope. And the homeowner can decide if he wants it on the east end or the west end or right in the middle or 10 feet off the edge or wherever they want.
However they'd like to place it, and it goes out 45 degrees.
From there.
It goes down until the tops of the trees equal the level of the first floor, the main floor.
Right.
Or until you reach the property boundary, until you reach the vegetative buffer, actually.
Right.
At the edge. Either
Okay.
one, whichever
Right.
comes first.
That makes more sense.
So I think and I hope that we've simplified that to the point where that's now clear. It was definitely not clear before. Yeah, so it may have an initial width of up to 50 feet, extend at 45 degrees, downslope until the tops of the trees are at the same elevation as the main floor or to the vegetative buffer.
Okay.
And it begins at any point on the downslope edge of the building envelope. So that's the changes to E. F, plans, no changes, just says the plans will be submitted to the planning board. You've seen that before. Now, section G, agriculture and forestry. We've talked about this a number of times. We made a change where we simply adopted the language en masse from the conservation district conservation overlay district. And all it says in essence is you can do forestry, you can do timbering, and you can do agriculture, and they need to be done according to best practices, which is what's stated in the conservation overlay district. So we assumed that language was appropriate there, it would be appropriate here, and as we all know, state law requires that we allow timbering and forestry. And so that's allowed here and provided for here. So that, this way, there's nothing unique in this
Right.
proposal. That's
So
a
you're
different
taking out
from-
all the skyline language.
We did not take out all the skyline language. I believe that's under D4. The skyline will be preserved as a natural vegetative growth area, and no structure or building or part of a building shall intrude into the skyline. No live tree cutting shall alter the skyline. So we left that in, but that's under D. And that's the same as it was previously. We didn't change that.
I don't understand that last sentence.
Okay?
In Part D there?
Yeah.
No
Well,
live tree
yeah.
cutting shall alter
Yeah.
the skyline.
What you're saying is that you can't cut trees to get a view.
Well, since you can't build on the skyline, no. So you wouldn't be allowed to cut trees on the skyline to create a view because you can't build on the skyline.
Yeah, but why can't you cut them to get the view?
Well, if the trees are above the house, you wouldn't get a view. Right?
Precisely the point.
Right. But
So I'm confused about the confusion. If-
Okay.
If you-
but you say you can't cut any live trees in the skyline.
What about timber?
But
Right.
what about timber management, agriculture and forestry?
So you can cut whatever trees you want according to best practices.
Yeah.
With the exception of trees on the skyline. This would say that you would not be allowed to alter the skyline through timbering.
There's one point to be made on this.
Yeah.
I think you have to differentiate a subdivision or development which is for housing, which that applies to. And timber or forestry management, which
Yeah.
has a different paragraph.
Right.
That applies to timbering.
Right.
So if you're going to have a plot of land, in current use, or what have you, and you want to cut the skyline, you can do it.
Yeah.
Because timbering allows you to do that.
Yeah.
But if you have a building lot where you're gonna build a house, you can't cut the skyline to put your house on it. That's the intent of that sentence.
We don't say that, Paula. We say, no live tree cutting shall alter the skyline. We don't say only on building lots.
Well,
Yeah.
that's because you say further on that for timbering, in the timbering thing, that RSA applies for timbering.
I think we would have.
So the only,
Yeah, it was a point that one of the foresters made, that.
Right.
That
well, they're
you
different.
can't interfere with forest management, but you can in the residential development, the residential property.
Right. But for an example, on my own property where I have a house and I live there, almost every year I cut several to a number of trees down for various uses. It sounds to me that I can't do that at all.
Well, you're
I
not-
either
you're not
have
even- you
a
don't even
have a
live
wood
in
lot
the watershed.
in this place.
In the watershed
I know, but in this district, you're saying if I have a wood lot in this district, I can do whatever forestry I want.
Right.
That's right.
But if I put a house there, I can't cut anything down at all.
Not on the skyline.
Just
If
not
you-
on the skyline.
If it's a house, if you have a.
Right, if I have a house there.
Productive forest, you can cut it.
Right,
And
but if I have a house, I can't cut anything in the skyline.
Right.
that's what that says, yeah.
So this practice, this district would have legal precedence over what the best management practice in the state says?
That is still saying that for the skyline.
For housing developments.
Right.
For
But-
housing development.
but-
And the state,
but
our
who's-
understanding is that the state does cede those rights to regulate housing developments, does not allow municipalities to restrict timbering. But if it's in a housing development subdivision, then you can.
I
Our
think,
understanding.
I think the issue will be if it's a pre-existing lot of record and you put a house on there, I think the existing forestry provision will override our town ordinance. In other words, if it was a new subdivision, I think what you're proposing would be valid because you could put it right into the conditions of approval, have it right on the plat. But
That's the intent of that, Bob.
But this, if I understand it correctly, could be a pre-existing lot of
Sure,
record.
if it's a pre-existing lot, this doesn't apply, because, you know, it could be a 3-acre lot, and you could build a house on it, and it would not apply to it.
So we need to alter the language then, it strikes me. And Bob, just in general, what's your recommendation for that then? How did you just say that? That for existing lots of record, this would not apply, and these are not the
But
right words.
subdivision development.
It would apply to new,
It would be triggered by a subdivision, is
Okay.
what I was saying,
Okay.
for that particular provision.
At D4? You still talking
yes,
about, right?
yes, D4.
If or when triggered by subdivision, right.
Okay, so we should apply, revise that this, to make it clear, because it's not clear now, that this applies only to new subdivisions? Is that the right language?
I think created after the adoption.
Yeah.
That's how I see it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
After adoption of this ordinance, so these subdivisions.
I mean, is this whole thing only apply to new subdivisions?
No. No, well, the intent of the restriction on cutting in the skyline
Yeah.
would be, what we're saying is we need to revise this to say that it would apply only to new subdivisions,
Okay.
not to existing lots of record. I don't know the
Okay.
right language exactly, but that's the thought.
Okay. All right.
Now, does that work for the board? It won't work it won't work for the town if it doesn't work for the board, so.
I have to admit, this is one of the probably the most restrictive ordinance I've seen us come across us. And I do have some issues with it. It's a bit of a hard pill to swallow. I understand its purpose, and I see the value in it. But it has some good restrictions, some pretty significant restrictions in it, land use restrictions.
Well, but there are so many other restrictions too. Think about the conservation focus area, where you're only going to allow 30% development on the land. I mean, you know,
I know.
I mean, this.
It is something.
I wasn't part of putting that together.
It is worth preserving. And
Yep.
to do the best extent we can, and not be over restricted. And
Yep.
obviously, we're not gonna try to do that.
I mean, this restriction is aesthetic.
Right.
This is not based on preserving the water quality, preserving the land, it's
Mhm.
aesthetic. And that's, you know,
Okay.
sometimes towns do that, but the question is, does New Durham want to do that?
Jeff or Paul, I don't know who to address the comment to, but on number 4, no live tree cutting shall alter the skyline. Could you consider anything that came from a recommendation by the town forester or a forester? I mean, in order to keep trees healthy, they have to
Right.
be
You have to trim them.
culled once in a while to
Yeah.
keep it healthy. So could you say without input from a forester?
Or something.
Or a plan, or
I mean, you're saying no live tree. That may suggest that you're saying a dead tree could be cut.
Sure.
because that's not, you say, no live tree cutting.
Right.
That
Forest
suggests that
management involves
a dead
more
tree
than
could
dead
be cut.
trees. Sure.
That's what it
So,
Forest management involves more than cutting dead trees.
I know, I'm aware of that. Yeah, because if you have your ridge line, and right now they're just little 10-foot small trees, and they're all 2 feet apart, 5 feet apart. In 20 years, they're gonna be overcrowded in a big way.
And you can say, to maintain the health.
I see Dot's point, and that's,
Yeah, and that
that
really
gets into
covers
some
you.
of my problems with it.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do in my own property. I thin trees as they get sick, or as the surrounding trees need space to grow. I do that actively on my property.
Right, now this is only on the skyline, but.
Right. You got a question? Sure.
Well, I just want to comment where you're going here is absolutely correct. You pointed out not cutting black trees, and I don't know how wide the area would be, but I have a piece of property that regenerated beautifully back 30 years ago or more. And I went in to do a little trimming and pruning, but I didn't come back and I didn't thin it. Those trees grew to be about, somewhere about this size, all dead. The whole place just collapsed, 10 acres. Because the fungus gets in there, because it's too crowded.
Right, it's overcrowded, it gets, just gets wet.
Yeah, on the pines anyway, a fungus will.
They're diseased, aren't they?
Right,
They got
so,
You ain't got disease trees.
But a forester really gives you advice. about
right.
that.
I mean, can you add some language to say you can't thin it to some percentage of cover?
Sure.
Of some, I don't know what that number would be or how to even word that. I would need to talk to a forester about what is a healthy cover, and how you define that. I don't know how to, I don't know how to describe
In that
that.
innovative land use writings of the DES, they talk about 65% of what it was. You could, in other words, you could remove 35% of the trees or something like
Right.
that. Yeah. It's
how
your,
about-
your choice.
Well, how about to simplify, because we
Yeah, I don't
tried
wanna make it
something like-
overly
Yeah,
complicated,
we
but
tried
you
something
gotta
like that before.
allow
and
something in
Well,
there.
maybe you
We
want to
had the
talk about
50% and that didn't.
Maybe you
work.
just want to say no clear cutting of the skyline, because that's what you're really trying to prevent.
How about if we said that?
Only selective trimming to enhance the health of the stand is allowed under supervision of a forester. What about language like that?
Yeah.
In the skyline even?
Yeah.
Would that work?
Could we say it even more simply? Could we say tree cutting is allowed on the skyline, but only, it's not the right words, but only on approval of a forestry management plan by the planning board, something like that. You
I don't
can
want the
cut-
planning board getting involved in
No,
that.
no, okay.
No.
No, I like the-
Well, how
But-
should we implement what you
It's not the
suggested?
way you said it. I thought it was.
What did I say?
That selective cutting would be
Selective
allowed
cutting in the
under-
skyline is allowed
Under the
to,
direct-
to enhance, to preserve or enhance
Enhance forest
the
growth.
forest growth.
Yeah.
But no clear cutting. You can put that phrase in there. No clear cutting's allowed, but management of the forest or canopy is allowed. Something, you gotta word it something like that. Does that work?
Not bad. I don't see what this is getting for us. This is a land right, we're taking away a land right.
Right.
Birch Hill has some of the best agricultural soils in town, all the way up the hill there. My Steve Edwards would be on there. Donald Smith gave us the ball field down there, is the guy that had blueberry field. He's the last one that had blueberry fields in there. So if
Well,
anyone-
you're not gonna have blueberries if you let the trees grow.
Right on the skyline. It was cleared. That land was cleared off. That was all cleared up there.
Okay.
That was actually George Hale's great grandmother. Yeah. That was
Okay.
all that up there. But, what are we gaining by telling people they can't? They're gonna lose some of the rights to their property.
Yeah.
We're saying we're gonna do agriculture. I know we do everybody but I'm trying to think who's gonna paint the line. I've been up to Canada or boundary. Now, they got a swath right through there where the boundary is. I don't know how wide it is, but what are we gonna do here to determine that, when somebody wants to do some agriculture or whatnot? But I'm also very concerned about how many acres this is, and how many acres this is gonna take out of, workforce housing. Because if you're gonna have 6 acres, you've really changed your, how you're gonna be able to do that. Now you're gonna start looking at other pieces of land in the town to do that concentrated housing. And that needs to be, that's part of a master plan. And this, to me, is way ahead of that. Because I don't want my land restricted because this land is. I don't happen to own any land in this watershed. And also keep in mind, every piece of land is in some watershed. So who else is gonna come before and say, hey, I want the land in my watershed to be, have restrictions on it. So I would like to know how many acres this is gonna impact and change the workforce housing situation, and possibly the change in the structure of the town into zones. I do wanna mention that foresters are trained principally to create market trees, to sell for market, not necessarily for ornamental trees or anything of that nature, so you wanna keep that in mind. The other thing is, agriculture is not just trees. It is blueberries, it is strawberries, it is, all these things take, you know, it is hay crops. And when I get back to the section, we saw like, that is the old prior one, it says a plan must be approved prior to the commencement of clearing the land and must contain reforestation provisions. Well, if I'm gonna clear the land in order to grow hay, or strawberries, or blueberries, particularly need are best on slopes.
Yeah.
There's no place to file a plan that I know of. Usually someone will come up and say, you're doing something wrong, maybe we should do that, but I don't know of anything now. There is such a thing as a forest stewardship plan that people often get, and it usually goes along with current use.
I think you're confused about that, though. Are you talking about section H, previous uses?
G, in my...
Is that previous uses?
No, it's
No, it says agriculture and forestry.
Okay.
It says the plan must be approved prior to the commencement of clearing. The plan, it must contain reforestation provisions.
Okay,
Well, if I'm gonna grow something other than trees...
Is that an old version?
Yeah, that's an old version.
That's an old version.
We took that out.
Okay,
They're doing a new one?
took that out.
I think you mentioned that before, that's one reason why it's gone.
Okay, I'd like to have a copy of...
Is this
I
the
don't know if
one
we have an
you-
extra copy.
All right.
Is that the one?
You can,
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
So you need to sit
It's
there.
gone.
That's gone, and
So all
what
that's
we-
gone. Another...
The only plan that's required now is under previous uses. So if it's been previously used in timber or agriculture, it still may be subdivided for housing development, but a management plan for vegetative regrowth would have to be submitted in that case. So if the land's, let's say, been clear cut, and now you want to build houses, doesn't say you can't do that, but you would have to have a plan for regrowth.
If I'm gonna
But only for housing, not for timbering or agriculture.
regrowth for housing.
If the land is subdivided for housing, for subdivision, yes. That's where you would have to have.
Have you still got the 6 acre lots?
Well, let me get to the second proposal, which I think you might like better, I hope, but.
Do you want this, David? This is the next proposal he's gonna talk about.
And we're gonna
It's an
address
extra.
a lot of the concerns that you have, because we heard those. We have not been ignoring these.
Well, oh, go ahead.
Okay. So, all right, let me just finish the 6 acre proposal then, and then I'll explain the
So
12 acre.
you got the language that Scott had, right?
Yes, I do, and we'll work on.
One substantial change.
We'll work on wordsmithing that, but yes, I have a suggestion. Section
just to be
G,
clear.
agriculture and
Jeff?
forestry, yeah.
Just be clear, which one was the proposal that you suggested you preferred?
The 12 acre, the second
what I thought you
proposal
said.
that we'll
Yeah.
be coming to.
I thought you said, okay.
The 12-6 one, right? This one?
Well, the 12 acre one you said?
Yes.
So that's dated 11/30.
That's 11.
It was a wrong date,
That-
is
That's
it?
the wrong date. It
Should be
It should have been
12/6.
12/6.
Both of them should have been 12/6?
Yes, correct.
Okay, very well.
Previous uses, there was a sentence about that land may be subdivided with a lesser degree of forest cover. We just took that out to simplify it. So I think this is a simpler statement, clearer, and more enforceable. And then section I, special exception, no changes. So that's the revisions that we made to the 6-acre proposal based on the suggestions we had had. As we were doing that, we had a number of other discussions and some thoughts, and I just want to summarize those briefly because I think it's important. Why did we come up with this second proposal? I don't want to just give you the proposal with no background of how it came about. We thought about a number of things. The first one is that voters in New Durham are not going to vote for this unless everybody wins. You know, the owners of the property, the properties that are in the watershed, as Selectman Bickford just pointed out, it affects other landowners in town, and it affects the folks living there. So everyone has to win. We had a number of folks voice concerns about regulating the rights of landowners. One was in fact Laura, and she had a more libertarian view and didn't like the idea of telling people what they can do with their land. And in our discussions, she suggested we talk to Dennis Thorell, who is the former town forester. And Dennis is a neighbor, and I know him, and I stopped in one evening on my way home. And he had the same opinion. You shouldn't be telling people what they can do with their land. You know, that's how people live, and we are in the live free or die state after all, and that's how people feel. So one thing that became really clear was if this is going to be successful, we've got to take into consideration those kinds of opinions. Selectman Bickford, had you expressed some similar views at our last meeting. You know, what if I want a garden? What if I want to grow blueberries? What if I want to have a sheep? I can have that everywhere else in town. Why am I restricted here? So we wanted to take those kinds of opinions into consideration. If it's going to be successful, we've got to be successful with everyone. We realized we'd love to put all this land into conservation, and we've had many discussions about that through the Merry Meeting Lake Association. We'd love to do that, and if those opportunities present themselves, we want a proposal that's consistent with that. However, there's probably not enough money in the world to put all that land into conservation. It's probably not going to happen. I think that's an unrealistic expectation. So we want to also be realistic. And in looking at this, Dennis actually gave me, I don't know if I'm supposed to keep it or return it, but I'm holding on to it for now, a guide to New Hampshire timber harvesting laws. And what I realized in reading this is that New Hampshire programs in agriculture and timbering are actually designed to keep open lands open. You probably are well aware of that. That was revealing to me. I always thought it was all about farming and cutting trees. I did not recognize that the purpose of these laws and the thinking behind them is to encourage landowners who have open tracts of land to keep their land open. But the only way they're going to do that, realistically, is if they can profit from the land. If all they pay is high taxes and they don't get any money off the land, they're not going to keep it as open land. They're going to subdivide it. So combined, the programs within New Hampshire in agriculture and forestry, combined with what I believe, at least what's described here, as an innovative program in current use taxation, which allows you to lower your tax burden if you keep your open land open. That combination of laws in forestry, agriculture, and current use taxation is designed to encourage landowners to keep their open lands open. And that was kind of a light bulb that went off for me, because if you don't have enough money to buy all the land, well, what's the next best thing? At least keep it open and not subdivided into thousands of houses. And that's really what we're trying to accomplish. So we took that into consideration, and even further, again, you're probably well aware of this, but I was not. It states here that there is an RSA 672(1)(3)(c) that says the state of New Hampshire has declared that it is in the public interest to encourage the preservation of open space by conserving forest and other natural resources, Therefore, forestry activities, including the harvest and transport of forest products, shall not be unreasonably limited by use of municipal planning and zoning powers or by the unreasonable interpretation of such powers. Meaning, you can't stop people from timbering and doing agriculture on their land. But the purpose of that is to preserve the open land. So, with that in mind, we redesigned this proposal, and actually, the 12-acre number came from a suggestion from Dennis Durham, the forester. Love to tell you it was my idea, but I think it was pretty smart. And what he said was, if you had 12 acres available, you can put 2 acres roughly into a home. And that leaves you 10 acres, and that's the minimum that you need to put land into current use. So if you had a 12-acre minimum, you could allow people to put their home on 2 acres, and then hopefully they would have 10 acres that they could then put into current use. Minimize their tax burden, encourage them to use the land for timbering or agriculture, which I think seems quite acceptable, all things considered. And that would better, I think, protect the Merry Meeting watershed by encouraging that. So what we did is we revised this, not totally, but we did make some important changes. And I'd like to describe those. One, we just stated clearly that that was a goal, and I'll just read you quickly what we stated here under the purpose and authority. It's the new 3rd paragraph. Preservation of open lands through conservation is one means of protecting the Merry Meeting Lake watershed. It is also a goal of this overlay district to maintain undeveloped lands by encouraging landowners to take advantage of New Hampshire's agricultural and forestry programs and the current use law. This will ensure the economic viability of agricultural and timberlands as a means of conserving open space. I pretty much plagiarized that from this forestry handbook. But it explains the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish here. So we added that section A, same boundaries, district boundary, that stays the same, that there was no reason to change that, and the definitions remain the same, no reason to change that. Under uses and limitations, we did make a significant change. And we did state that the intent of this overlay district is to promote conservation of open lands, and in addition, maintenance of open space by providing landowners with a means to receive income through cultivation of crops and forest products while taking advantage of the current use law. So we changed it to 12 acres, and we stated this lot size was chosen to provide a minimum of 2 acres for a dwelling and outbuildings, and to provide 10 acres that may be placed in current use according to RSA 79A. We don't state you have to. It's not telling you what you have to do. It just says this gives you this minimum acreage gives you that option. And then what we did is we took out most of the language restricting the building envelope and the view cone and all that stuff, which to me has just met with a lot of confusion and uncertainty. So basically we said, it's 12 acres. We recommend you take 2 acres and build on it. If you're subdividing this land, then you have 10 acres that you can put into current use. Doesn't say you have to. We maintained single-family homes only. We maintained only 1 ancillary building. We maintained preserving the skyline, but we can certainly alter that, revise that
Unless
according to the
that
suggestions.
skyline is in current use and you're doing timber.
Right. Right, we can certainly revise that. And we maintained no open conservation subdivisions. And we took out the reflective glass and lighting. Again, just seemed restrictive and not necessarily required. Under section E, we actually removed most of, a good bit of section E. If you look under the first proposal, the 6 acre, and you look at the section E, number 1, the building envelope, we took out. Building envelope at least 50 feet from the lot line, number 2, we took out. In order to develop a view, and the view cone, we took out. And number 8, all buildings proposed to be built within 50 feet of the top of the skyline shall have a maximum height of 26 feet. Took those out, hopefully to remove some of the
the building code?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
1, 2,
yes, the
4,
whole-
and 8.
Yeah.
all that view cone and restriction around the building on. you
1,
get
2, 4, and 8 is what they took out.
The intent is you get 12 acres. We would like you to build on 2 acres and build as you will. We're not gonna tell you how to build on that 2 acres.
If I may,
Go ahead.
comment on, you may want to run that by Hampshire Housing Authority. Because they're the ones that have done all over us about concentrating housing for workforce housing and that thing, and a certain portion of the town has to go for that. That part of my issue is that it may cause us to create zones in the town that says we're gonna have small lots. Because this would certainly go against their grain. I kinda like it myself.
This does allow an ancillary housing unit.
Yeah, but that's
It
not
doesn't,
his.
you don't have to put that in there
But we
because the state
can't-
requires you to.
Exactly. we
Right.
can't-
That's
we
not what
can't-
he's saying.
We
Okay.
can't deny that. But let's talk about that just real quickly. In the 12-acre plan, just to complete that, sections G, H, and I remain the same. So agriculture and forestry, you can do whatever according to state law. We don't restrict that. The previous uses and the special exceptions remain the same in the 12-acre plan. The workforce housing issue, that one, boy, I just don't have a real answer to, except that these are pretty remote lands. They're not close to the village. A lot of it's steep and sloped. It just doesn't seem like it's an area that lends itself well to workforce housing one way or another. And to create a larger lot size here doesn't
Takes a
seem.
large portion of the town out of the equation that could be developed for that.
Yeah.
They're the ones that pushed us to do the ancillary, additions.
Right.
To require it at the state level, so the planning boards can't say no to anybody. And they're the ones that push very heavily to have the open space, conservation areas. They were a big pusher on that. And I can tell you who exactly, which is Ben Frost.
Yeah.
Which he's on the planning board over Warner, which might be somebody to talk to about it too, to get a feel.
Ben has been before us before. He provided some useful
Right.
suggestions.
On workforce housing.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought he said we had probably enough
Well,
stock, so to speak, to qualify,
It's
to
the-
qualify for it.
It was a court decision, I may have it back, Britain versus Chester. Does that sound right, Ron?
Doesn't sound familiar.
No? Okay. That brought about workforce housing.
I think it
And
did
wasn't-
call it
you can't
Chester.
pull the drawbridge up with these big lots, because it was called snob zoning. And it was, large, towns were doing large lots, on a wholesale basis. And they said, wait a minute, you can't just you can't close your town up that way. You've got to provide for growth. And that's, Ron probably has more
Okay.
information.
All right, I'm gonna start something new here. I'm gonna identify myself for the record.
Who are you?
My name is Ron Gale, 54 Jenkins Road. I am the Conservation Commission Chair, but I'm not here speaking as the Conservation Commission Chair because we had not taken this up as a commission as a whole. So I'm speaking as a private citizen. I'll just have a couple of brief comments, and I'll probably have some more comments a little bit later on in the discussion. But to David's point, I mean, you're absolutely correct. There have been concerns raised about large lot zoning, and its impact on the potential for workforce housing development.
Called sprawl is what it's called.
Right, exactly. However, I will point out that that concern is raised largely in residential towns that have essentially zoned the entire town in that fashion to, basically create snob zoning in that effect.
That's where it started anyway.
My point with respect to this particular area of impact, while it is fairly large acreage, To Jeff's point, it's extremely low development potential, just inherent due to steep slopes.
Right.
Accessibility, you know, is going to be extremely tough. So I cannot see how anybody would have any sort of legitimate legal concerns with respect to large lot zoning and workforce housing in this particular instance. I think it's entirely appropriate to pair off a portion of the town which has low development potential already for this sort of zone. I don't see any problem with that.
Well, that's what we need to find out, I think, because we've been criticized for the size of our lots now, that they're too large. I know I've heard you talk about it, Bob, about, you know, where did 3.5 acres come from for certain.
Well, the only issue I had is with the town center. I thought there were areas that it would be appropriate to make the lot size smaller. I didn't say it was town-wide, but and that's where the town center mixed-use district, I did feel very clearly, strongly, that smaller lot sizes was appropriate there. But I didn't by any stretch say it was town-wide. I said we should reevaluate what we have with current data, but by no means am I suggesting that town-wide we should be dropping everything down to little lots. And certainly in the area we're talking about is highly environmentally constrained.
Right.
So, I mean, this is one area where I would certainly say the opposite, you know. Small lot sizes have absolutely no business in there.
We talked about agriculture being able to clear that, forestry. What about for storing boats?
For storing what?
Storing boats.
Storage boats?
We did
That's a
not
commercial-
address that.
That's a commercial use.
Yeah.
That exists.
Well, wait,
now, at
storing
least one of
boats.
them does.
An individual storing boats or a business storing boats?
Right.
There's a whole,
Well, there's a
there's a whole big difference.
Putting my own boat in the corner of the driveway is one thing. I'm allowed to do that.
Or if it's a business for storage,
But
boat storage.
commercially, that's a different animal. There is at least one business in town doing that. I don't know if it's technically in this district or not. It's not in the top of the slope or not, I don't know.
Are we talking about the Merry Meeting Marina?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is, I think it is.
It's an existing business. You're not gonna tell them they can't do what they've been doing.
But,
Their grandfather.
Yeah, and as I remember, one of those lots came up for a discussion while I was in the board. It's like 70 acres, was it 70 acres, something like that?
I don't remember how big it was.
There's nothing here, I don't think, that would prohibit anybody from storing boats, but this is silent on that, and I think other.
That's a commercial
other
use that
ordinances
would
in
have to
town.
go through ZBA, et
Sure.
cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And you have already had the
And there is a
language.
commercial use provision in
Right,
this thing.
it's already there.
Right.
So, I don't see that.
Were you thinking something else, that this would restrict that, or?
No, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, no, there's nothing here that would restrict that. It wouldn't impact that beyond what other ordinances are in place in town currently. There's nothing here that would restrict that otherwise.
Okay.
How do folks feel about this? I mean.
This other one's
this-
better.
This side of the room's gonna be pretty supportive, I'm guessing, but,
Pretty quiet peanut gallery over there.
yeah, compared to the last one.
group, yeah.
I like this version a lot better.
Yeah.
Because that whole view window was just was a mess. I'm sorry. It was just really hard.
That's, please.
But you see, with this size.
I mean, the building inspector, it's the building inspector's nightmare, for one thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what it is with this new one.
The new one, yeah.
For the skyline, I don't agree with the skyline.
Right, the new version is better.
If I can pull off the skyline for agriculture, why not the other guy first?
Yeah.
That have to have a house.
Okay.
So, the key thing is come back with the final proposed version and go from there.
Right.
So you're creating a zone for bigger lots as far as in your last version, and not telling people how to cut their trees.
So your opinion, and I think you would agree.
This is
would be-
better. It's a lot
would be
better.
Better, but take out the restriction on cutting on the skyline.
Right.
How about building houses on the skyline? We'd like to not allow houses built
Yeah.
on the skyline. Again, it's aesthetic.
Like the tax revenue.
But that's the whole point of this ordinance. If we take that restriction out, you might as well throw the ordinance away.
No, he's got his.
Pretty much.
Ten acres.
Well, it's still bigger lots, yeah,
bigger
it's still,
lots and
there's
it's
still
still
something there,
less
but.
development.
You know, the
Still
size,
protecting the water.
I think one of the foresters, Dennis, spoke about why it was important to keep 12 out there.
Yeah.
Because you lose the current use.
Right.
2 acres generous, that's good.
Not everyone, but certainly there seems to be a feeling that removing the statement that no cutting of trees on the skyline, you don't like that.
It's language
You don't like
that Scott had.
Yeah, if you include the language that I gave about maintaining health of the trees, whatever.
So it can be cut, but
Thin.
thin
Thinning,
selectively.
et cetera.
I think it said
that
select
works.
tree cuttings to preserve or
You want it
enhance,
out.
but no clear cutting.
Thinning with those forester supervision.
All right.
All I gotta do is say I'm doing agriculture now.
Sure.
And I cut trees down. So why bother have a contradiction?
Well, no, that's true. The restriction is only in housing subdivisions. It wouldn't be for agriculture or forestry.
If you do that, then you can do it when it comes before the board, then you can put your restrictions in there.
Right, in the subdivision, yeah.
Well, do we have that right as a board to restrict building on?
It would be better to have this ordinance on the table than to say, your subdivision, because it's here, we're gonna tell you all
Located
these
here.
restrictive things, just for your case. That seems pretty unfair.
Yeah, certain things are better stated in the ordinance
Yeah.
than the regulations.
Right.
So if it allows agricultural cutting on the skyline, it allows timbering for
Yeah.
forestry, but it would restrict cutting and building on the skyline for subdivisions.
Yeah.
According to your
Yeah.
amendments. Or does that work for folks?
Be a lot happier.
Does not say.
Yeah, well, in that residential portion,
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
chooses to build a house there too. Because what you're really trying to avoid is that somebody puts a house on smack on top of the hill. That's
Yeah.
what it's trying to restrict.
Dot, Swets, how do you guys feel about this?
Well, I'm just, I think it's much improved. I was just quickly looking at the new ADUs
Yeah.
that go into effect, the new legislation that goes into effect in June. And I don't see anything there that requires that an accessory dwelling be within the building envelope. I wonder if that's something that you're gonna run into there.
No, it's silent on ADUs. Yeah, I think the only thing we say, and.
There's something in there.
and
Like you
yes,
said, it has to
yes,
be in the
and
building
please-
envelope.
Please take a look, because I
I
don't
thought
want
you said it had to be.
Permitted on a lot and
Well, I don't know
shows
about the-
located
With or
within
without
the
an
building
attached ancillary housing unit, D2.
It says, yeah, D2, development
Attached.
limited to single-family homes with or without an attached ADU.
Okay, and it doesn't say, okay, only one.
Item 3 says, one building shall be permitted on a
Yeah.
lot and shall be located within
The
the building
building
envelope. Only one ancillary, so you can have detached, but it
Yeah,
still has to be
detached.
inside that building envelope.
Well, I'm just wondering if
Right?
that's going
No,
to.
you
Right.
mean a detached ancillary unit?
That's what that D3 tells
It
me.
says you can have a detached building.
Yeah, you can have a
And, that's not
detached.
the issue. The issue is that you're restricting it in the building envelope,
Yeah.
which the state law may not be that restrictive.
And I'm not sure about it. I have to review all the, yeah.
Those that
And
are
the things that
attached.
I got the other
They
day.
didn't address, why they did not address.
Unattached.
They
State
did,
did
they
not
did.
address unattached.
They did. They said detached ADUs, the municipality is not required to allow detached ADUs. For example, a unit that is above a detached garage or standalone building. If it does not allow them, they are subject to other provisions of the law, except that an increased lot size may be required.
Well, this provision, the way it's written, it's more strict than we currently have, because in this town, you can have attached or unattached ancillary housing units.
Right.
This one says that the ancillary unit should be attached.
No, it says it allows
doesn't say that.
unattached.
It allows unattached.
As long as it's inside the building
The
envelope.
building envelope.
that 50
And
foot.
we already allow.
We already-
Allow detached.
So-
The state requires you to do.
Right.
Right,
Right.
that's
So it's not-
done.
And
You
that-
can do that.
And that's allowed.
You can do attached, you can do detached,
Detached.
as long as the detached is within the building envelope.
And we no longer define the building envelope here the way we did previously. That would be defined by other.
What about outbuildings, you know, barn, garage?
Well, this,
One-
no, this is a living, an accessory
Yeah, I know that.
dwelling,
No, wait.
dwelling.
I'm stepping
yeah.
down again.
All right.
Oh, you're talking about,
When
the
I'm
building
looking at
has to be
number
within.
two, a house is single-family homes with or without an attached ancillary housing unit.
Right.
Number three is only one ancillary building. That's not an ancillary.
You're
housing
right,
unit.
I misread that.
Right, right.
Okay?
So it could be an ADU detached if the town decides to allow
Or it could be
that.
a barn.
Well, no,
Or
because
it could
the
be a barn.
town, the state
You can't have
requires
three
to allow
buildings.
one. This allows one.
Right.
With or without attached.
You can't have 3 buildings.
But there is no
can have two.
provision for a detached.
You could have a barn, a house,
You can have a detached
that's,
garage.
the garage is the barn.
Okay, so
Not-
you were thinking an ancillary building.
It's not
Not
an
a dwelling.
ancillary housing unit.
Okay.
No, in number three, it's not an
Accessory
ancillary
dwelling.
housing.
But you know there would be one allowed on that lot.
Yes, you could
By
have
law.
a detached garage, for
Yes.
example.
No,
But
a
if-
dwelling unit, a
An
dwelling
ancillary
unit.
dwelling unit is permitted, under two, development shall be limited to single-family homes with or without an attached ancillary housing unit.
And then 3
Well,
would allow
I'm
it
just not sure
unattached.
that you can say it has to be in the building. I'm not sure.
I don't think
It
that,
doesn't say
that
that.
doesn't necessarily
Doesn't
say,
say
3
that.
does, 3 says only one ancillary building shall be permitted on a lot.
Yeah, okay.
But that doesn't say whether or not that ancillary building is a housing unit or not.
Exactly.
It says it's a building.
Exactly.
It says you can have a house, a residential house and a barn.
Right?
You can have a residential house and a garage with with a ADU above
Whichever
it.
way you want it, but the intent
Right.
here was to
Alright,
meet
what's
the
the
state
intent?
law
Right,
of allowing an attached ancillary unit.
right.
But you.
It allows attached. I read this as saying it allows attached and detached.
Yes.
So this-
That is how I read
Well,
that.
that's the way Jeff reads it.
I think that's absolutely correct, and I
So
think.
it's exactly in conformity with the town does.
Yep,
Yep,
I
so
think
you
that
could-
works.
So you're allowed
You're
one
not
home,
convinced, David?
one home,
You're not
one other
convinced?
building.
Is an ancillary building potentially an ancillary, a ADU?
Yes.
Yeah, but you're gonna do that anyway.
Why not?
I mean, you're gonna have to do that.
What if we?
The question I have, what is the reasoning for restricting down to 2 buildings?
Well, the way this reads, in my opinion, is that you have, first of all, you have the house, you have the opportunity for an attached ancillary, what you call housing unit, but an ancillary dwelling unit, and then you can have another ancillary building according to number 3.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
you could, the maximum would be a house.
An ancillary dwelling
attached-
unit and then
an
another
attached
structure.
An attached ADU.
Right, right, and then
a
another
second-
structure.
And then a second
Which I think
structure.
follows state law.
But the first thing you need to always ask, why? Why? Why are you restricting it to?
We're looking to minimize impact of development on the watershed.
Well, you got 10 acres there that you're absorbing with. That's-
Right,
That's
right.
quite a bit.
Well, we're hoping they
So
only
to say-
build on 2.
Huh?
We're hoping they only build on 2. Didn't say that, but that's.
Right, because what you're using is a 10 acre, you're using it as an encouragement.
Right.
You're not making it.
You're not
They're
restricting
required.
You're not
Making it
restricting it
requirement.
than any other lot in the town, are you?
Pardon?
You're not really restricting the number of units or structures to any other lot in the town.
Right.
It's the same,
Structures?
the same applies.
I think you are.
2 barns.
How are you restricting it further?
It makes more sense, if that's the issue, it makes more sense to restrict the size rather than the number. And say, well, because apparently you're concerned about water shedding.
Right.
Getting back into.
Well-
Right, impervious
Slowing
surfaces.
Slowing it down.
Well, every time you have another building, you need another pathway, driveway to that building, which is more pavement or impervious pavement or whatever,
Yeah, it might be.
So if you've got a house here and a barn over here and a garage on the back corner and, you know,
I'm thinking it might make sense, though, to simplify life, make D3, only one ancillary building shall be permitted on a lot, and strike it shall be located within the building envelope. Does that simplify life a little bit?
Yeah.
Still
Well, I
keeps,
think that would
keeps the
cover-
intent,
Prevent.
but it doesn't
that
say
does
where.
go towards David's desire a bit. Puts your second building anywhere you want on the lot.
Hey,
Some people just make them big, small, and have garage.
It's trying to, yeah, this is trying to restrict that a bit. It's still restrictive. There are still more restrictions in here than,
And it has to allow
You still get your
internal or attached or an independent.
Still got what? I'm
You
sorry.
still get your steep slope.
They don't need to read this.
Right.
yeah, I know.
Well, I for one think that restricting it to the building envelope makes a lot of sense, only because you're trying to promote compact development as in meeting the objectives
Right.
of watershed protection here. And the more you sprawl out on the property, the more you're likely to impact it.
Yeah.
Merely just the construction process, David, you're gonna invariably have some more impervious surfaces there as well.
Yeah.
And your building envelope is really not that small anyway, so.
Yeah,
You're looking at 2 acres, you mean? Yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
building to go back to.
yeah.
Okay.
So that means you can't have a garage the way it's written now and a shed in the house.
You couldn't have a house, detached garage, and a shed. Correct. You have one or the other. Or your
Right.
garage could be attached to the house.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just
You
saying.
can have house,
I have
attached
two-
garage,
Two structures.
and shed.
It just seems limited to me.
Do any of you read that as you can have 2 ancillary housing units, one in the attached one and one in the?
Doesn't say you can't.
Pardon me?
Doesn't say you can't do that.
Well, that's what I wanted to know. Is that what you want?
Isn't
We haven't
that-
gotten to that.
I was gonna say, isn't that
Ordinance
something
yet.
that the planning board will take up
Yeah, we need to be
relative to ADUs?
Yeah, we need to be taking that up.
Let's leave that to the
Because
planning board.
the town right now allows one unit
Read that.
with restricted bedrooms, but it's attached or unattached.
Yeah.
My proposal would be
Now,
that,
now we heard Scott think that this
Something we have to-
allows
Sorry?
2 houses, absolutely.
I would propose that we allow the planning board to
Well, that's.
We need to address that whole
Address
entire issue. We have not
ADUs
done that yet.
and do that
The whole
separately
ADU
from
issue
this.
has not been dealt with yet.
yeah, let's not complicate this with
Well,
ADUs if we can.
that's right. But
We're
see,
trying-
But if you're reading it that this allows 2 ancillary units,
It might.
then I think you.
But that will be
make a decision
dictated
on
by
whether it does or doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't think it should.
We may have to modify this, assuming this ordinance passes in its current form. Once we pass the ADU ordinance this coming year, we may have to put a couple phrases, we're gonna have to change things all over the place.
We'll change our zoning.
See,
Yeah.
I thought, the way I thought 2 and 3 read, it met the state law,
I think it does.
and no more, you know? But,
I don't about no more. I don't know.
Well, see-
I haven't read the whole thing, so I don't know
right, so
exactly
you
how
need
it
to make a
covers it.
decision of how you want to do it.
I think it handles it pretty well. So I think we should just move forward on
Yeah,
what we
it-
have,
it-
what we have.
It strikes me that provisions 2 and 3 allow for interpretation of the New Hampshire state law, however the planning board chooses to interpret that in
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah.
But it allows 1, it allows 2, it allows attached, it allows detached.
Yeah.
The planning board will regulate that with further decisions on ADUs.
Yeah. So,
Those are limited anyway by the number of bedrooms, which is numbered by the septic system.
right.
Right. Restriction to.
Right, so-
Can't limit the number of bedrooms either.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get into that later.
Could I take one other thing?
Yeah?
Are you going, I think of leaving the same road frontage? It doesn't 12 acres create a 400-foot road frontage?
This does not restrict or describe
Yeah,
that.
so you're sticking with the old,
Whatever the current formula is would apply.
Yeah.
That is.
Road frontage, setbacks, whatever. The only additional I think that we've added and I honestly don't know if this is a requirement otherwise, but we do have the 25-foot vegetative buffer around the outside of the lot. But, well, that's pretty standard with forestry and forestry requires that, right?
Well, they usually go down, because the buffers are too narrow. If they get any height in the trees,
Yeah.
we were just talking about that the other night at the Stuckers meeting. You know, when you take out a forest, it's already grown, you leave a strip, you come back after the wind, it's gone. Down. So I'm not-
That essentially means somebody has not been using best management practices in their forestry activities.
Yeah.
Leaves just that little strip along the outside.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's the neighbor's street, so they go up to the mountain.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Tell me that.
Okay.
It's happened a lot to me.
So,
I think
you guys
this-
come back and bring us a final
Yeah.
revision for consideration?
Yeah, do we want to go one more round of revisions before we go to hearing?
But yes, and that would be fine with me, and
Okay.
I'm happy to do that. Is it your recommendation to pursue the 12
With the
acre?
12-acre proposal, I
12
think.
acre.
Do we have a consensus? The 6-acre proposal, the 12-acre proposal? I like the 12 one myself. I think it's a little more flexible. Yes?
Yep.
Okay, so move forward with the 12-acre proposal.
Time-wise, we're still okay, I think, although you
Just about.
you have to have the hearing then on the 3rd of January, right?
That would be the hope. So there is a meeting on the 20th. That would be our next.
Yeah, my birthday, Wahoo.
Oh, lucky you.
I get to be here instead of going out to dinner with my wife.
Oh.
What price you pay?
Huh?
The sacrifices we make.
She could come here.
Oh, she'd love
She'd
to.
love that. Jeff, I'm going to hand you down a copy of the legislation, the ADU, okay?
Don, do you have a digital?
Do what?
Do you have a digital? Digital?
Just a copy of it?
If you have an extra, I'll take
I
one.
made one for everybody.
Oh, thanks.
I was just giving him his early. Here, you can have
Okay.
Well,
yours.
thank you.
Okay, so,
I felt left out.
that's that.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, whoa.
I just had one final
Yes?
set of comments. if I
Who are you
may.
again?
Ron Gale, 54 Jenkins Road. Just one final set of comments with respect to this. First of all, I applaud the fact that you're leaning towards the 12-acre proposal. Because
Yeah.
really, that is going to go so much further than the other one with respect to what I believe this effort was originally trying to do, which was do some natural resource protection, particularly water quality, watershed protection, and all that. The other thing I just wanted to say is that this whole concept of, call it large lot zoning is really well established throughout the country, specifically for natural resource protection. We're not breaking new ground here by any stretch of the imagination. This is very well accepted, not just in New Hampshire, but in lots of other places. So when you fold in wildlife habitat protection, the ability to continue to maintain forestry practices, the greatly decreased likelihood that you're going to be impacting water quality, that's definitely the way to go, with the larger lots like that. I really applaud you for thinking along those lines.
Good. And other states use much larger
Yes.
lot sizes, 25 to 120 acres in some cases.
Okay, changing the subject a little.
Uh-huh.
So we know what the next steps are for that. We'll have it on the agenda for next week. We need to do the master plan section that's remaining, one of them that's remaining. I'm assuming that'll be on the next agenda. I handed the draft of ideas out the last meeting, so you can use that and bring any comments or suggested
Okay.
changes next week.
Okay.
The next meeting,
Master
sorry.
plan stuff next
Not
time.
next week, next meeting.
What is the next section?
The 20th.
No, I mean, the next
December
section,
20.
the next section of the master plan.
It's the one I handed out.
It's the older stuff that we've already done.
Well,
Right?
No, this
Those other
was, no,
sections?
this was not, this is the town character, I think, and all that.
Okay. Are we gonna have a hearing for that, or?
Well, I'm assuming that would be after a whole master plan's reviewed and done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this isn't.
Okay.
Town appearance and character is what,
Right.
what I handed out last time.
Okay.
So I think everybody has a copy, I just need, that was a draft, I just made it up,
Yep.
so I need everybody's comment, any changes you want to see.
Okay,
We do have one section still, actually, two things that still need reviewing. One section to be developed, and that is demographic side. That is, I think we've all said
all
that's more of a
statistics.
narrative thing than anything
Yeah.
else. And I would like to revisit the vision, just,
okay,
but
all right,
next week, I think, is, or next meeting, I mean, is only the section we have.
right, okay.
And,
But the one you want to discuss next, once it's town appearance and character.
right.
Yeah.
I'm open to the whole thing
Yeah.
after that, if you want to do the same time. I don't know what the agenda looks like. but,
I don't think the agenda's that bad now, is it, Laura? Yeah, so we just have, we're gonna have this lake proposal thing again, lake rate ordinance again, and on the 20th. Master plan discussion on the 20th.
All right, so I would suggest that section and the vision
We can
discussion.
have a couple big talks on that.
You know, that section, a vision discussion and how you want to handle demographics, and then decision what the steps to be to finalize, put it together for whatever the next
Right.
step is after that.
Okay? All right. Any other items?
Yeah, I just wanted to, this is related to, it'll be quick, but I think
I would absolutely.
considering the number of people that here that had interest in the Babb gravel excavation permit,
Right.
I think one important thing is there's gonna be requests to review information. We've gotta get something on our website where people can access the plans that exist. And it might be
Yeah.
digital photos or contacting Mr. Varney to see if he can send the PDFs or whatever form that
Right.
can be posted. Because it's gonna save the town a lot of time, because the
Right.
people in town hall are gonna be inundated.
Right.
And also, in terms of the public that sent letters to the planning board, it might be appropriate to send those to Mr. Varney and Mr. Babb, so they can address
Right.
some of those issues, be prepared,
Right.
because they're gonna have to.
Right, they're gonna have to
respond
answer
them.
those people's
This-
questions
Right.
sooner or later.
Basically, requesting Laura to ask the applicant and/or his engineer for electronic versions of their information, so that you
Right.
can have that available and send to people who request it. And then number two is,
Forward all the comments.
forward all of
All
the, make a
comments.
packet of all of the input communications for the applicant.
Yep. Yep,
That's simple.
okay. Any other
And
items?
if I can just add Laura to contact me, because two of the people on the abutters list were deceased. So
One of
I
them
have,
was, yeah, I know, that one I'm well.
okay,
aware
so
of.
you've already got that, okay, I was gonna say, I
And
had
that
the.
lady, I did send her a certified
Okay,
letter
all
with
right,
an
'cause I
apology.
took their names and addresses,
Okay.
okay.
I also have, somebody walked up and handed me another whole stack of emails that people had brought to her tonight at the meeting. They're all letters that people have written. I will get copies of these so that you guys can add them to
I have
your
one as well. yeah.
Okay.
blue folder.
Okay.
Okay.
And can I just point out, and don't listen to this, Swen, but in the back of Town and Country, there is a wonderful interview with Selectman Swenson that was published, yes.
What's the topic? Little house across the street. Old church.
Topic was the benefits of gravel pit mining.
They ask a series of questions and they answer the questions.
Right. Yeah, well, maybe I will read.
Yeah, see, maybe you will read, it's in the back. I started on the private well thing, but
Okay,
if you flip to the back,
there it is.
Scott?
Yep.
Laura has.
I
Laura?
have a question. Do you want me to ask Scott if you can look into using the
The
school
school.
gym for
Yeah.
January 30th?
I think we should try for that, yeah.
Let's look at Kingswood.
Yeah, right?
Autumn will too.
Yeah, you get a little bit more of
Your-
this money.
your map.
Yeah,
Which we don't need it.
Right.
yeah, we should try and get the school if we can.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, on the, Mr. Allen, proposal, is there any way that the latest proposal that you looked at, right, can be online, so we can do it?
Before the meeting?
I may want to send it out to Hampshire Housing, I mean, one of the, I've already talked to it about the Farm Bureau, but we weren't able to access it until today.
Right.
So we can
Yeah, can
work
we
with-
get that,
Be able to work with people.
that up also, Laura?
I didn't know which version to put up because every meeting.
Well, now we know.
Now we're down to
Now
one.
now we're back down to one version, so.
With
You've
Skyline
got
out of it.
edits to it.
skyline cutting is not in it? or-
But very little.
Very little, how quickly can you get those edits?
Done and to me by like the first of next week.
Yep. There you go.
I will get it posted the first of next week on.
All right.
Just so we know what you're working on, you know,
Yep.
where you're at. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Good.
Paul's
Last call.
retired, he's got lots of time.
Anything else?
No, I'm all.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 3 minutes.
That wasn't too bad.